Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Hot Mic here on the Outlaw Nation channel. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, joined as always by the Sneider himself, Jeff Sneider. How are you, Jeff?
I'm okay, Johnny. Obviously, it's tough sledding here in Los Angeles right now. It's a crazy time.
No Johnny boy today for sure. It is a tough situation going on in LA. I don't live there anymore, but certainly I'm only 2 hours away, and I have a lot of friends like you who live there dealing with evacuations. I've had friends who have lost their houses. I've seen them post the pictures on Facebook, seen them. They've sent me videos of them walking around what's left of the area of their houses. It is heartbreaking. It is devastating. A new fire just broke out there in I think Woodland Hills is what they said. So this thing is not necessarily over. It's contained in certain areas, but not necessarily over. Jeff, how are you dealing with it? Some people mentioned that you had to go, you evacuated to a friend's house. What was your experience with it yesterday?
I mean, I didn't evacuate to a friend's house. I've had friends evacuate here. I had two friends on my couch last night. I had two other friends who had lost powers, spend the day with me and get their work done downstairs. Because, I have plenty of space, communal space or whatever. It's just, I haven't seen people all week. Everybody's been hunkered down. I've barely seen the sun. I mean, I've barely seen outside. So I really haven't been touched by it nearly as much as other people because I've been enclosed in this concrete jungle of Koreatown, but it is crazy out there. And I know a lot of people who have had to evacuate. A lot of people have lost their homes. Yeah. I highlighted one in the newsletter that I just sent out, a publicist I know who she lost her husband a while ago, and now she's lost her home. She has two kids. She's a single mother. So urging people to donate to that GoFundMe campaign. But there's so many, obviously, you wish you could give to them all. And those are just the individuals, right? Then there's so many, charitable organizations, the Red Cross, a lot of animals that need shelter and stuff like that. So if you can give, please do. Don't worry about, giving to us today.
Yeah, 100%. And the other side of it is too, it's not just the people in their houses. Also, landmarks are going down to this fire. We've seen the Will Rogers estate go down. We've seen all these places. If you're looking, Vintage LA has a Facebook account, and they've showcased a number of places that have been affected by the fire or burned completely down that were landmarks there in the city. So just unfortunate. And there were so many, Jeff. There's already theories, already things popping up. And, hopefully we get more news about what happened here because it was so quick, so fast, spread out on multiple areas. And it almost seemed like it was coming closer and closer to the main areas of Hollywood. And of course, as you said, it's a lot of concrete. Doesn't mean necessarily that some stuff wouldn't have caught on fire. There is some vegetation, some trees in those areas. And certainly through the richer areas of Beverly Hills or higher end areas of Beverly Hills, there's a lot of trees, vegetation, what have you. So it could have done much, much more damage if the great brave people of the fire department and the first responders had been there to contain it and control it as much as they could.
Surely. I mean, the first responders are heroes, and it's I mean, just to talk about it, from an entertainment perspective, almost how there's never been a better movie about fire than Backdraft.
Sure. Yeah.
It was over 30 years ago. It's Hollywood doesn't put enough respect on firemen almost. I'd like to see, and I know there's probably a lot of shows, Chicago Fire, it's more of a TV thing about firemen, but I think we need more movies about firemen because it's really quite heroic what these people have been doing this week.
Is this you pitching David Ayer and Jason Statham to do the Fireman?
Ayer would be good, yeah.
Next film for them. Yeah, there's a few firefighter films, and not a lot, as you said, and we've talked about that on the show a few times. And Backdraft certainly the best of them, and so you want more to showcase because it's a brave job that these people do, putting themselves in the path of the fire, risking their lives to do that, and dealing with all the stuff that they're dealing with to try to put stuff out. And sadly, too many people are online trying to score political points rather than let's all come together, solve the situation, help people out of these situations. But you also love the fact that there are people who are stepping up. A lot of companies are stepping up. I think Spectrum or one of these companies opened up 35,000 free Wi-Fi areas so people can run to the popular areas and be able to communicate with family and friends and get help. Uber has allowed people to use a code in order to get them for the next, I think, 2 days. You can take Uber for free to certain areas if you're evacuating. Other Airbnb is offering a free week for anyone who has lost their home and what have you. So there are a lot of companies that are stepping up to help in these situations. I think that's a very positive thing, man.
Yeah, I mean, again, when I was 12, John,
yeah,
my summer camp burned to the ground.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I wasn't in the fire. I was about 50 yards away, I would say.
Yeah.
But there were kids my age in the fire. It's an absolute miracle that no one was lost in this fire. These kids, It was a 5-alarm fire, which means it required, fire departments from 5 different towns.
Right.
And those kids left at summer camp with nothing but the shirt on their back. Everything was gone, millions of dollars in damage, and camp was called for the rest of the summer. It took a full year to rebuild, but rebuild we did, and we rebuilt stronger, and that's what Los Angeles will do, right? This is a city of dreamers, and while everyone's, as I wrote in the newsletter, everybody's living a nightmare right now. People will dream again.
Absolutely. And people love the city, Jeff. That's really the number one thing. People denigrate the city from outside the city, talk crap about the city, what have you. The people who live in LA love LA. The residents there love that city so much. And so they will absolutely rebuild. I mean, I think President Biden came out and said they're going to fund everything for 180 days to try to help people get back on their feet, help the city deal with all the ash and all the residue and all the ruins there, to kind of wipe that all out, clear it out, to help people rebuild and what have you. So you have people stepping up, and that's a positive thing here in this situation. And sadly, this is something that comes out every once in a while in certain areas. And the fact that this one blew out so crazy, I think is something to hopefully they're going to find answers to and figure out so it doesn't happen again,
Yeah, but there's also so much misinformation, right? It's like
right now, yes.
I've read so much about how Karen Bass slashed the fire budget. It's like that's not actually what happened at all.
Nope, not at all.
So you just have to be careful. Everyone's trying to use this for like their own political gain, right? Yeah. And it sucks that like these kinds of tragedies become politicized at a time like when we should all be coming together.
Yeah, that's that exactly. I tweeted out yesterday. It's so sad. Yeah, the $50 million of extra money was put aside for the fire department. So, and they were negotiating the contract in November. So these things that happen, and you get misinformation, and sadly, just ignore that stuff. Focus, like Mr. Rogers said, focus on the people who are running to the tragedy to help, rather than those sitting outside making commentary about it, because it's important to help people in these kinds of situations for sure. But also, Jeff, I mean, I guess connected to the fires, and then we'll get into our big topics. We should talk about the fact that, the fires were so extreme and affected the country or affected the area so much that a lot of these award shows have been pushed. A lot of these, now you got Gene Smart here coming out saying maybe the money that they make on these award shows should be donated to these causes. So hopefully, the Hollywood rallies around these shows in a few weeks here, because they've been delayed for a couple of weeks. And there is a big funding going on to help people rebuild, for those that weren't affected by the fire, stepping forward and giving their money to help those people who were,
Yeah, I mean, I think it only makes sense to delay as much stuff as you can. I mean, some stuff probably can't be moved. But I mean, it's ugly out there. I mean, the roads aren't even safe to drive on. The air is not safe to breathe. I don't know when it will be safe. I'm shocked that they haven't moved that playoff game yet. Right? Yeah, they're still monitoring things. Like, what is there to monitor, bro?
Yeah. The contingency is Arizona, but they haven't officially announced it. You're right. They have a contingency plan, but they haven't fully announced it to make it happen, that it will be there. So, and how many people are going to be excited to travel out of state to go see this game? So this is an interesting situation, but real life infringes on our games and in our fantasies, which films are. So, you have to deal with that and adjust to that kind of stuff.
It felt so silly, like watching like the New York Film Critics or some.
Yeah.
So many fucking organizations and so many dinners that celebrities feel pressured to be at for some reason. It just felt ridiculous watching them hand out awards in the middle of all this, as like their LA counterparts are fleeing their homes.
Yeah, it's a sad situation for sure. But like Jeff said, please find the organizations that will donate and send some stuff to help people out. Maybe by the end of the show, I will compile a list here. We can put it up as a graphic by the end of the show to help people be aware of it. But I will put stuff in the description down below as well if you want to check that out after we're done with the show for sure. So because there's a lot of organizations that are stepping up to help, a lot of ways to help people who are suffering right now for sure. And please don't get caught up in the stupid narrative that it's all celebrities. There's a lot of people who live in those areas who are living paycheck to paycheck, who are barely paying rent, and really are going to grasp how terrible this fire was because of how much of their stuff might not have been insured, is going to be affected, all these kinds of things. So there's a lot of people who live paycheck to paycheck in the Los Angeles area, or only or barely above water in the Los Angeles area. Don't get caught up with looking at celebrities, because that's not the majority of the city. Only 1% to 2% of actors make the kind of money that you hear about being trumpeted in these articles. It's
even still, though, those people lost all their homes and all their possessions. Like, they're in the same boat, standing by the edge of the road, watching everything burn with everybody else. So it's like, we have to keep track of the fact that these are people too. They may be people who won the lottery in some way, whether that's the genetic lottery, the talent lottery, whatever.
Yeah.
But, they hurt and experience pain just like the rest of us, and my heart goes out to them as well.
Absolutely. And that's what I thought was great about Steve Guttenberg being out there helping the fire department move cars and what have you. It was amazing to see Officer Mahoney stepping up there all these years later to help people in real life. It was so great to see. So, but we're going to do our best to soldier on with the show here. We're going to talk about big news happening in the world of Marvel, the world of Star Wars, a commentary on some of the DC stuff, some updates on all of that, and other entertainment news as well, casting news, trailers, what have you. So we're going to get into all of that. For those of you who want to send in Streamlabs and Super Chats, you can. It's right above Jeff's head there. It's also pinned in the chat. For those of you who want to donate instead to those organizations that are helping in the LA fires, feel free to do so as well. If you want to do both and you're in a position to do both, then God love you. Thank you so much. All right, Jeff, should we start with your big news that you dropped in the newsletter, or should we just start with something else?
Whatever you want to start with, baby. Dealer's choice.
All right. Well, we're at 515 people already joining us live, so I think we should start with the big news here. You just dropped this in the newsletter. Feel free to take it away, brother. What is this news? And maybe I'll give you the single shot. So take it away.
I mean, I tried to hint the last time about recasting being in the air. This was a scoop that I've held since that show. I mean, I've held it the full week, basically. And I'm sorry. It's Rory McCann, the Scottish actor who is best known for playing the Hound on Game of Thrones, is going to be taking over Ray Stevenson's role as Baylan Skoll. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Baylan Skoll. Yeah,
Baylan Skoll on season 2 of AHSOKA. There's some poignancy to this because I do believe that in real life, Rory McCann and Ray Stevenson were friends.
Yes.
I believe that they knew each other. And so I feel like he'll, take great, he's going to accept that role, inherit the role with great respect and take care of it with great pride. I think he'll be a good caretaker for it. But yeah, they needed someone to play that character for season 2.
Yeah. I think it's great. I love the idea that they're coming together there, that it's someone who was connected with Ray. And it's not a bad transition. Yes, he doesn't look like Ray necessarily, but who knows? For those who've seen the show, when Baylan goes where he goes, how does that affect Baylan? How does that alter Baylan? And the fact that he passed away in real life, I think people are going to create space for McCann to create what he wants to create with the character that honors what Ray did, but also puts his spin on it. We saw this happen in the Harry Potter series when Richard Harris died and Michael Gambon came in, and I thought did a really good job as his version of Dumbledore. I hope the Star Wars fans create space for Rory McCann to create his version of Baylan Skoll. But I think this is a smart casting choice. It's not a huge name, but it's a name that for people who've watched Game of Thrones, there's a lot of love and affection for him. So it's an easier transition, I think, for a lot of people seeing this big news.
I think it's a good choice. Timing wise, I think it had to happen relatively soon. I'm not exactly sure when they're gonna start shooting. But I think if they needed to maybe take some time after the holidays to notify the cast and that he was going to be joining them and let Ray's widow know, and she's blessed everything as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, which is a great situation there. You love that. You crossing all the T's, you dotting all the I's to make sure that everyone is good with this. So you should be sitting on this one for a week, but eventually this was the time to drop it. Did you hit the kind of wall of like, look?
I just feel like it was such a big. It's such a big thing. I know it's a tough time right now with the fires, and I was conflicted. I knew obviously it wasn't the right time to do it the last couple of nights. But like we woke up to that Tom Holland announcement and the Jacob Elordi announcement the day before, and then there's the Colman Domingo thing, and it's like at some point the show has to go on, just like the actual show AHSOKA, right? Like and other things that I think we're going to talk about later on this episode.
Yeah.
That's the nature of the business. And there's something kind of beautiful about that, though.
Yeah, and I think Star Wars fans will be open for it. And again, it's not the main character, but it is a beloved character. And so people feel like, I think people are going to feel overall that this is in the right hands, and excited to see what we're going to get in season 2 of AHSOKA and the chemistry that we're going to develop. And who knows, maybe Rory McCann takes this role and elevates it even more from what Ray Stevenson did, and it becomes an even more iconic role. It's very possible for people to enjoy down the road. So I like it. And he's got a natural gruffness to him that I think, although Ray had, it wasn't his natural energy. And so I like that this is going to be something that will be fun to explore with this character for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any questions and thoughts and comments you guys have on that? Make sure you send them in as we go along through the Streamlabs and Superchats. Anything more on the Star Wars news? Shall we hit this Mangold story as we wrap up Star Wars and move on to the next things?
Yeah, we can hit Mangold while we're in the universe.
Okay. All right. Let's do it. Let's jump into this situation here. James Mangold this week being interviewed, talking about the Star Wars situation. He's working on his film here, Dawn of the Jedi. He was asked by Deadline about what's going on here in the previous installments and the idea of lore. And what he said to me, was, to me, the really important aspects are the freedom to make something new. Screenwriter Bo Willimon and I, in relation to Star Wars, have been working on a script, and we'll see what happens. I'm not that interested in being handcuffed by so much lore at this point that it's almost immovable, and you can't please anybody. And of course, why he said something like that is because they're going to set this thing 25,000 years in the past, so they don't have to be beholden to any lore or what have you. We kind of suspected it. We knew it was going to be in the past, but 25,000 years, Jeff, is a massive amount of time. What do you think about this? Anything to take away from this? Any newsworthy stuff to take away from this? Or is this pretty much what we expected?
Yeah, I mean, this kind of follows what we'd heard all along. I mean, to me, it's an explanation that makes sense. If you're James Mangold, who I think is it safe to say this guy's the best filmmaker that the Star Wars has ever had?
I don't know. There are a lot of George Lucas people who might be mad at you if you said that.
But I mean, just overall, in terms of the body of work, I would say Mangold is probably even more accomplished than someone like Rian Johnson. And I think, if Mangold's going to join, it's like, I don't want to be tied to everything that's been done before and have you compared this and then. No, I want to go 25,000 years, whatever. And it's about a whole nother cast of characters and a different story. No one's ever, doesn't have any emotional ties to it. Lets him, gives him a blank canvas to create on rather than having to color within the lines.
Do you think he'll still have Kathleen over his shoulder or Dave Filoni over his shoulder? Or do you think he's so accomplished a filmmaker? And of course, currently right now, with a complete unknown in the theaters, and a lot of people speculating Chalamet has a really good shot at winning Best Actor. This is possibly being nominated for Best a Picture as well. Do you think he's got enough cachet to keep Kathleen Kennedy, keep Filoni at bay, and they let him do his thing?
I mean, no. I think that anytime that you're working at Lucasfilm, you're working for Kathleen, right? Right. I think that she's still calling the shots, and that film still has to fit somewhere within her and Dave's overall vision, for what they see as they can't just let anyone, go off willy-nilly and paint them into a corner. So I'm sure it's all being done in consultation with them. I don't know when it's actually going to, go before cameras or whatever.
Yeah.
Kathleen, I think is going to be around through the end of the year.
Right.
I mean, I think there was one point where I thought that she might be leaving this summer. I think that she's going to be there until Iger leaves. Once Iger leaves, she'll leave. But I mean, they're already looking for his replacement. So,
right.
I think that it is an inevitability. I don't know who will be elevated. I don't. Something tells me it won't necessarily be Filoni. But who knows?
I don't think it'll be Filoni either. I just have a feeling that it's not. I don't know. It's not something the fandom is going to be all that excited about. So,
but it's not about. That's the thing. It's not about fandom. This is like an executive for a job. I don't know why the fandom needs to be excited about who's taking over Lucasfilm. They just need someone to, mind the store well and be the gatekeeper of this IP.
I think you'd foolish to discount the fandom's effect on it all, because guess who's going to come to those movies? And if they're not excited about coming to the movies because they don't like the person in charge, you're costing yourself a box office.
No, dude, because people are showing up to these DC movies to see Batman and to see fucking Superman. They're not going to see James Gunn. I don't think anyone like James Gunn gets another foot in the door than I wasn't going to see Superman, but now that James Gunn's directing it, I'm going to. I don't think so.
Oh, yeah, I have to disagree with you on that, but all right, that's fair. That's fair. All right, anything more on the Star Wars stuff? Do you hear anything more Star Wars news-wise? Anything you want to talk about?
No.
Okay. All right. All right, let's close the door or wipe out of the Star Wars situation. Move on to some Marvel stuff. Let's talk about another big scoop of yours here, Jeff, as we have almost 600 people joining us live right now. Let's talk about this one. You broke this earlier this week. A lot of tongues are wagging over this situation here that Marvel is looking, according to you, looking to recast T'Challa in Black Panther 3 here. You mentioned how Black Panther, the first Black Panther, did gangbusters at the box office, 1.3 billion, but the second Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, with Letitia Wright taking over the mantle, didn't quite do as well as 1.3, though 859 million is nothing to sneeze at. They do, you're speculating, they do sense that they can get more out of this property, out of this franchise, and recasting T'Challa is the way they go. There is an Avengers Secret Wars. There is Doomsday coming. There are portals. There are multiverse situations. So, A, how did you come to the story? What do you think of the story? And B, do you think they've already got somebody in mind? And can you hint at who turned it down or no? Because you speculate about that in your newsletter.
I am not going to hint at who turned it down. I don't know who, if anyone, that they're looking at.
Okay.
And again, I'm not well versed in. Well, technically, it could be T'Challa 2 or to Jones Soda or to Kiss Soda. There's so many, that's what I heard immediately after that post. It was like, well, it could be this version and that version. This, I don't fucking know.
Right.
Okay. I heard they're looking for a fucking new T'Challa for Black Panther. That's what I fucking heard. To me, it makes sense timing wise, right? Like, this is Black Panther. This is one of the major characters in Marvel lore.
Yep.
And obviously, horrible what happened to Chadwick Boseman.
Of course, yes.
We're supposed to just table this character now forever because of what happened. I don't know that necessarily makes the most sense.
Right.
Obviously, people like connect him with it, and it's different, like the connection that the public has. But I could be wrong. Maybe they're casting his son. I don't know, but that's not what I heard. And my job is to tell you guys what I hear, and maybe I get it wrong. And if Marvel wants me to, I checked with Marvel on this one. I actually gave them about a half hour, to disabuse me of this notion. If they don't want to engage, then they don't want to engage. It's like. It's the opposite approach of James Gunn and DC. He's like, I need everything out there to be accurate and, what we signed off on. And Marvel's just like, let them fucking say whatever they want. And, what's going to be is what's going to be. I don't know. In general, I can understand why an actor would turn down this role, because this is like probably a lose-lose to some people. Right? Or a win-lose. Like, okay, I'm Black Panther of the MCU now. Shit, but now everyone's going to compare me to Chadwick Boseman, and I'm the guy who didn't do the role justice, or, whatever it is. So it could be bad, and that's why people don't host the Oscars and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think that someone is eventually going to say yes to this opportunity. And just like Rory McCann, I think, plans to, someone's going to pay tribute to Chadwick with their performance and carry on the legacy of this character.
Yeah, I think this is when I read your news, I was like, yeah, this makes all the sense in the world. This makes all the sense in the world. It's been 5 years, and the drumbeat of people who have wanted to see T'Challa be recast has only gotten louder over those 5 years. A lot of people right off the bat were like, hey, we need to recast T'Challa.
The response was overwhelmingly positive, John. I was surprised by that. I thought people would be very defensive and be like, like this is Chadwick's thing. Like, what the hell? No, a lot of them were like supportive. Like, you know what? I'm glad that they didn't do it for number 2, but it's time.
It's time. Yeah, because people love the character. And especially the Black community, people I've spoken to in the Black community, like Winston A., Jay, other people, they talk about how important that character is to the Black community, one of the very strong Black superheroes. And of course, he transcends and appeals to all communities, but certainly there's a pride within the Black community for Black Panther. And so there's a respect that has to be paid here. They did it because of the unusual situation. They buried him in the second movie because you wanted to have a catharticism for everybody who went to see the film to feel that sense of burying Chadwick and honoring Chadwick and what he did. But it's been 5 years, and now it's time to put this together. And I think a lot of people are much more receptive to it. And I talked about it last night on Spill the Tequila. Like, there's the amazing thing nowadays, and which you couldn't have said 20 years ago, because there's more opportunities nowadays, is that there are so many young Black actors that can be in consideration for this role. And it's amazing. Like, there was about 15 or 20 that were suggested last night, and some suggested that I hadn't even thought about and had to do some quick research on during the live show last night that I was very impressed by. So there's a lot of Black actors that have an opportunity to maybe, and there's probably one that's like, I don't care about the other stuff. I know this is a great opportunity for me. I got the guts to do it. I'm going to put myself out there and do it. David Johnson is a name that I'm starting to come around on more and more from Alien Romulus. Seeing him step up and take the role with his pedigree, his intelligence, his natural energy, and his talent, I think could be really, really interesting. He's only 3 inches shorter than Chadwick. And if you're doing a Black Panther variant, I think him, or if you mess around and bring Michael B. Jordan back, he was the Black Panther of another universe. He comes into this universe. You can deal with the conflict of all of that. It could be really interesting, Jeff.
This is the thing. And this is for better or worse. Some people think it's for better. I think it's for worse.
Right.
Marvel has created a universe in which anything can happen.
Yes.
I mean, we've got Robert Downey Jr. coming back as
Doom.
Dr. Doom. You don't think Michael B. Jordan can now play Black Panther or something?
Right.
Like, because I guarantee you he could.
Yeah.
It just and hopefully it's. I don't think it should be him necessarily, but because that's like the easy kind of lazy, like that's what everybody's kind of thinking.
Right.
But yeah, like when everyone was like using that like logic, well, it has to be his son. Jeff Sneider must be talking about the son. Why? Why must I? Because with the multiverse and anything, and obviously anything can and will happen.
Yeah.
Right. I mean.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know for sure. That's why I label it as there's a difference, guys. I label this as a hot rumor. Rory McCann's story got exclusive.
Yeah.
One is this is what I'm hearing. One is this is a fact.
Well, I don't think it can be the son because of the timing of it all. Unless you're going to put a young.
Exactly. It didn't make sense to me either, John.
Unless it's a young teenage kid, which I don't think people want to see. You want to see a full
guy, and if there's
you want to see an adult Black Panther. Yeah, 100%, Jeff. And so I think that's why it's going. And look, they're going to bring Fantastic Four from a different universe. Why wouldn't they bring a Black Panther from a different universe? And people could be upset all they want or think it's a cheap way to do it. If you get the right actor, all those people are going to be in the minority and no one's going to be fucking listening to them. You got to get the right actor who's going to step in with the right energy where the fans that would normally complain about it go, oh, wait a second. Let me let him cook for a little bit and see what he's got. And that's going to be important. And there's no way this isn't done. And I think you mentioned this in your newsletter without Ryan Coogler's approval as well, him helping with the casting with Feige.
That's the thing. I think Coogler, if he's doing Black Panther 3, which sounds like it's a thing, he's openly talking about it. So is Denzel.
Yeah,
if Denzel's doing it, then it better be fucking good.
Right.
Right? Like, how do you have Black Panther 3 and not have Black Panther in it?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to.
I understand how you don't have Black Panther in, Wakanda Forever or, you made Shuri, but like, you're not going to do Black Panther 3 where Shuri is Black Panther again.
Right.
And after the second one made $500 million less.
Right.
Still did quite well. Don't get me wrong. I don't think Letitia Wright was a fan favorite or a studio favorite either.
Yeah. I think in the end it didn't 100% work. And I think Letitia herself probably wasn't.
Did what she could.
Yeah, she did what she could. And you don't see her trying to use social media in a passive aggressive shot at Marvel to say like, I should be the Black Panther. Why are you even considering anyone else? she understood the situation and she did the best she could with what it was.
She stepped up and did, but that was, it's time to step back now, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Is there anyone that I know we talked about it a few weeks ago, the possibility of who could be Black Panther. Is there anyone new that's coming around, or do you have a front runner in your mind that you would love to see if you were Kevin Feige?
This is the thing. It's like I could say someone, but
people might think you actually know. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's not even that. It's that the person who turned it down did so because they had certain career momentum. So it's like, am I going to choose someone that also has career momentum and is probably going to feel the same way? Like, there's so many jobs available to me right now.
Yeah.
Why am I going to take this one, which could be a pothole? It could trip me up.
Right.
So I don't know. It's like, I have a feeling it'll be someone maybe we don't see coming who maybe could use the boost. I don't know. No one really saw Chadwick coming. Did you?
No, I don't think anyone really saw Chadwick coming. I mean,
Robinson, right? Was that it?
Yeah. I mean, there were a couple of people. A lot of people were fan casting, Denzel, and fan casting a lot of other older actors to play the role, but no one was really looking at Chadwick until later on in the process. And it's funny you bring this up because last night we were watching an older episode of Modern Family, and there's Winston Duke, M'Baku himself, in a 3-episode arc, playing one of Eric Stone Street's high school football players. And so to me, that was a situation where I was like, wow, who saw that 2 years later this guy would be M'Baku? In no way in my mind was I even knew who this was. So I think with Chadwick, there was a little bit of him building to this moment, and then he was handed the mantle. And I think he was an unusual guy. He's a guy who had made connections within the acting community, both inside the Black acting community and outside the Black acting community. And people were kind of trumpeting him and pushing him. Denzel and him had a connection, and he was really talking positively about Chadwick. So there was an upward momentum. And Chadwick took the mantle on in honor to represent his people. And so there's something really powerful in that. And I think if they can find another Black actor who has that kind of mentality, that kind of approach, that kind of reverence, I think that's going to go a long way to people being like, okay with the recasting, any of the holdouts that might have an issue with it. So I think that's a positive, honestly.
Yeah. I just think that this was an inevitability to some extent. But again, who knows what could happen? And maybe my source did have it wrong, and they're talking about the kid. I don't know. Yeah,
it's possible. Real quick, just want to share this because Jeff and I alluded to it earlier. It is official for those of you who may be sports fans. The Vikings-Rams game has, in the interest of public safety, has been moved to Arizona. So it will be officially in Arizona on Monday night at its scheduled time of 5 p.m. Eastern time there. So it will no longer be in LA. It is going to be in Arizona. So adjust your plans accordingly if you happen to be watching us right now and you were going to go to the game. So all right, let's see. Let's move on to some other stuff here. What else have we got? Oh yeah, let's keep in the Marvel unless you got something to drop here, Jeff. Anything you got to drop right now, or are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. Let's move on to this situation, staying in the Marvel universe here. This is also part of the title of the episode. Apparently George Miller has met was set up to meet with Kevin Feige and Marvel to talk about possibly taking on World War Hulk. This has been listed in Production Weekly, shooting in this year in 2025. World of Reels, Jordan Rumi reached out to his sources to confirm this bit of news. He said, what I got was quite a lot of information. Although plans are not, quote, official at the moment, the goal is to indeed shoot the film this year. And Mark Ruffalo is set to come back in the titular role, and his character will have a very busy year. As this coming February, Captain America's Brave New World will set up World War Hulk for him. And a few months later, Thunderbolts will be the, quote, connecting branch for the character's first solo MCU movie. He goes on to talk about the rights and all of that. For those of you who don't know, World War Hulk follows on the tragic death of Hulk's wife, a more powerful Hulk then vows vengeance against the Illuminati and Earth's heroes and wreaks havoc against waves of Earth's mightiest defenders, taking out a slew of targets on his chaotic path. And so what they've heard is that Feige has reached out to numerous directors, including George Miller, and this was set up through Hemsworth because there's also a possibility that he might want George Miller to direct him after he worked with him in Furiosa in Thor 5. So Jeff, do you like the idea that George Miller is in play for either of these movies? And what do you think about where he might go? And the emergence of Hulk possibly is a big character here in the MCU in this new phase going forward.
I like the idea of George Miller working in the MCU. I know that much. I don't know if I need a Thor 5.
Well, it's coming whether you need it or not.
I think I'm good on Thor 5. World War Hulk would be more exciting to me.
I think so too.
And I could see him being a fit for that.
Yeah.
Do you think they'd ever give him X-Men?
No.
I mean, I don't think he's who they want, like in terms of his identity,
right?
Or X-Men. But if this guy did undoubtedly make the best action movie of the last decade or whatever, and what many people think is the best movie of the last decade, I think that they're wrong. I think they're crazy. Yeah. But I mean, if that's what he is, why wouldn't you hire him to do the big property that you have going, which is X-Men, right?
Well, I think he almost did Justice League, and some people have some split opinions about the stuff that came out about his approach to Justice League. I also think, no offense to George, I respect and honor him very much, but a little long in the tooth, Jeff. I think they want someone. Yeah, I think they want someone in their 30s and 40s who's going to understand what young generations want to see from their X-Men in this iteration.
And that's the thing. That's what I'm talking about. It's like, I know he's not the right guy, but like, well, what if Spielberg said, "Hey, I want to direct X-Men"? If you're Marvel, are you saying no to Spielberg because he's 100%. He's too old? Yeah,
100%. I 100% said no to Spielberg. This is a film about mutants versus humans. There's no way I want Spielberg near that. He's going to soften the edges. I need someone who's got a little more edginess to them to make it work. Whatever you want to say about Bryan Singer, and certainly I'm not the biggest fan of him. And if you go back and watch old Collider Movie Talks, you can see that. I thought what he brought to that role, to that job as a young director, there was an edge to those X-Men movies at that time. They feel dated now to watch them, but at that time, they're pretty edgy with the commentary they were making about being a mutant connecting to the LGBTQ situation or a person of color or what have you. So it was there as a sub context there throughout those movies. So yeah, I don't know, but I like him for World War Hulk because this could be a much more of a post-apocalyptic barren situation, a lot of fights and battles and all this across land. So to me, this makes more sense than Thor 5 necessarily, even though he enjoyed working with him and it certainly was funny in Furiosa. I just think World War Hulk makes sense. But either way, Jeff, it's interesting that the Hulk now all of a sudden is starting to become this predominant player in the MCU as we move into these later phases. It's fascinating to see that happening here in the Marvel universe. Are you impressed by this? Do you like this? I mean, we had She-Hulk with Ruffalo coming aboard that situation too. So what are your thoughts on that?
On like just the Hulk element?
Yeah.
Someone had asked me a couple weeks ago or months ago, like, what character I thought, whatever, I forget how it was phrased, what character is being neglected or whatever. And I said Hulk, right? It made sense to me. Like Hulk is kind of being underutilized right now in this universe, given how much people like that character and Ruffalo, I think. And it's like, so I am, if there is truth to these World War Hulk rumors, right. I think they make sense because I do think Hulk needs to be used more.
Yeah.
What do you think about Hulk? Are you hearing anything?
Yeah. So I got the okay to go with this. So from the person who gave me this information. So
this episode is already big enough.
So strap in. But from what I hear from one of my sources, who's a very strong source in the business, someone who's connected, by the way, this is not just some PA on the set. There's someone who is connected in the business. He told me that the plan for Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man movie, was Spider-Man fighting the Hulk with the Punisher. So it was going to be ground-based, but he was going to fight the Hulk because Marvel wants to move away from the intelligent Hulk that we saw in the Avengers movies and make him much more of the a brutish Hulk, the violent Hulk, the rage Hulk. That was what that seems to be the approach they want to go in. And certainly we saw the Red Hulk in the trailers for Captain America Brave New World. Of course, obviously not the same Hulk, but that anger, that aggressiveness, they want to bring that back because a lot of people have been complaining about intelligent Hulk. They want to bring back the Hulk that they like, which is this massive individual with anger and fighting and all of that. And so that was the original plan for now. Now, I don't know if it's changed. I remember I don't know if that's what Tom Holland was reading and jumping around with Zendaya in his room excited about, because we know it's going back into rewrites. I don't know if they're rewriting the whole thing, but that was the plan that they told me about here a couple of weeks ago, that was what Marvel wanted to do. And that was the threesome they were going to have in the Spider-Man movie. Now we know Punisher is coming back, Jeff. So, I think it was last week or earlier this week, it was out there that Marvel is considering doing a season of the Punisher to mirror what they did with Daredevil Born Again, to bring Bernthal back to play the character in a season of television as opposed to the movies. So having him with the Hulk and Spider-Man in a ground-based Spider-Man movie, that would be fantastic to see. So, yeah.
Okay. You did it. You went there. All right.
I did.
Now it's out there for me to discuss.
Please. I got the approval to bring it up. So here we go.
So I think the first question that most people will have for me is, does it pass my smell test?
Right. Nobody cares if it passes Mr. Poppy's smell test. Who's Mr. Poppy? I care if it passes your smell test.
I have to say it kind of does.
Yes.
Because the way that I understand the Marvel Sony deal, right? Yeah. It's that Marvel has to give one of its marquee characters to Sony for its Spider-Man movies, which Marvel is still in charge of. But
right.
That's why Iron Man is in Homecoming, right?
Yes.
Doctor Strange was in the most recent one.
Yes.
Or what, wasn't he?
Yes, because of No Way Home. The three of them.
Who's the second one?
Mysterio was the villain in that one.
But that's a Spider-Man villain. They I could have sworn Marvel.
They had Happy Hogan. I don't think they had anybody else.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was Happy Hogan in place of
somebody. Or Nick Fury, right? Nick Fury was in it too.
Right, it was Fury. That's exactly what it was. It was Fury. Fury
right.
counts.
Right.
So when I did the Mephisto thing, right, my source was a little skeptical that Mephisto and Sacha Baron Cohen were going to be considered big enough,
right,
to fulfill that deal point.
Right.
And they said, I don't, they'd heard the same things about Mephisto and whatever, but actually that source was the one who was skeptical about it, who let me know that Sacha has a secret movie supposedly this summer from Universal.
Right.
So that person was skeptical about it because they said Sacha may have to do press. They were the one that mentioned that deal point, and I feel like the Hulk is big enough to fulfill that deal point, and that's why it passed my smell test, especially if my source thought Mephisto didn't. Yeah. I can see a Spider-Man versus Hulk fight as well. I can see that.
That's happened in the comics. Yeah.
The Punisher, I think, is a separate thing. I buy it if it's coming from the same source. Like, why wouldn't I buy it? And I did hear Punisher from one of the sources when I did that Spider-Man report earlier, but they had said, but then another source had said, oh, I don't know, I'd heard Bernthal, but then I'd heard he was out. Right. So there could be, he could be in it, or you're right, it could be like an old plan.
Yes.
The Hulk part of it passed my smell test.
Yeah.
And looking at his schedule, Ruffalo's, I think he could probably swing it.
He is such a good actor, and the character's been criminally underused. And a lot of people may not know the Universal Pictures rights issues that go with Marvel and the Hulk. That's why we haven't had a Hulk standalone movie since 2008 with the Edward Norton one. It's those kinds of situations. So how do you remedy that? You make the Hulk a bigger part, and people love the character of the Hulk. They love the Hulk. You already used him in She-Hulk. Clearly, Ruffalo is down for whatever. He's voiced it. I think he's voiced it in What If. So again, he's down for whatever. Now, I think what the report alludes to, he might be in Captain America: Brave New World. It's going to be connected to Thunderbolts. So it makes all the sense in the world that you start pushing the idea of Hulk. And then if he shows up in a film with Spider-Man and Hulk's gone the other direction and Spider-Man's got to fight him, what is everybody complaining about? I would love to have a Spider-Man that's ground-based, that's in the city, it's not out in space. All right, here's how you do it. Hulk is tearing up the city. What is Spider-Man going to do? Well, if Hulk is tearing up the same city that Spider-Man and the Punisher live in, it makes sense that the Punisher would get involved and use his weaponry to try to stop the Hulk or help the Spider-Man. And if you've read comics from Marvel, Spider-Man and Punisher have teamed up multiple times before in the comics. So it's not something they're creating out of MCU, a thin air for MCU lore. It is actually real. So I think the idea of it being ground-based, this is the stuff we'd heard about. So they didn't have Hulk and Punisher and Spider-Man going at it throughout a whole city. I think would be awesome. And Berthal and Holland probably have fantastic chemistry with each other. I'm down with that.
Does that sound grounded to you? Because it sounds like the opposite. Yeah. It sounds like they're going as like big, just big, like big in a different way. Like we're not bringing in all the other Spider-Man, which is why you all of a sudden have like Andrew Garfield and Toby, distancing themselves. Because I don't know that it will be them. But you need something to compete with that. Like, right. And that's why I think the Hulk stuff kind of makes sense.
Well, I mean, I say ground-based because Punisher's ground-based. Punisher doesn't go into space. Punisher's what anchors you. So if they get rid of the Punisher aspect, then it can go anywhere. But Punisher's the one that makes it feel like it could be ground-based because of those two combined. Those are two from the same city. And so that makes sense in the world. I mean, you could backdoor the Defenders into this with Luke Cage and with which they keep talking about, and Jessica Jones. So there is an opportunity to backdoor them into this universe through a Spider-Man movie, because what character gets the most eyes when it comes to Marvel movies? Spider-Man most of the time. So if you're going to reintroduce these characters and this universe, what better tableau or what better platform than a Spider-Man movie?
Yeah, I haven't heard any of this myself. Right, this is 100% you. It passed my smell test. If someone said, "Hey, Hulk is going to be in Spider-Man 4," I'd buy it. And I'm not going to reveal anything, but John did share with me where some of this information was coming from, and it sounds legit to me.
Yeah, it's a strong source, guys. I don't usually like to push out any sources that feel a little shaky. So there we go. That's our Marvel segment of the show. Anything more to say on this? Anything more Marvel news that you got rolling around in that brain of yours? Anything more you want to jump on?
No, I think we're okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So the other Marvel stuff, I have in my head, and some people last week were like, "What a weird flex, Rocha." Well, here's part of it. I have to get approval to do this kind of stuff, to reveal this kind of stuff, because these are people I care about, and so I don't want to violate their trust. And so when they send me stuff, it's great to talk about, but then like, okay, when can I bring it up? And so I always have to check with them, and that's the approval. The other stuff I have not been approved to talk about yet. So when that pops up, I will bring it up, and we will talk about it when the time, unless someone else breaks it, then we'll talk about it then. But that's
I heard a casting rumor for an X-Men, kind of like they did with the Sadie Sink thing.
Oh, what do you got?
I think we'll save that. No, this show's already been too big. No, we'll save that name for next week. If
you're too big. You're too big.
Yeah, we've done enough. I don't need to let how many cats do we need to let out of the bag here?
That's fair. All right. Well, let's move to something a little bit smaller in terms of franchise situation, but still pretty cool. What do you think about this, Jeff? Colman Domingo has been cast to essentially play the Richard Dawson character from the original movie, and obviously from the novel. He is going to play the game show host here in Edgar Wright's Running Man remake, which is still in production, set still for a November 2025 release. And we're just hearing this casting news now. Of course, he's going to join Glenn Powell, Josh Brolin, Amelia Jones, William H. Macy, Katie O'Brien, and Michael Cera. This is all through Deadline. So, because it's going to be set in 2025, the story follows a man named Ben Richards while he participates in a deadly game show called The Running Man, which sees him declared an enemy of the state and hunted by a bunch of murderous hitmen. So do you like the idea of Colman Domingo expanding his resume here by being a part of this remake and playing the game show host?
Yeah, no, I dig it. I think he's a really good actor. I mean, he makes everything better. And this is a really fun cast that Edgar has assembled. I think I thought for some reason that the TV show host had been cast, but I guess that was just the executive that Josh Brolin's playing.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
And I guess Lee Pace is the bounty hunter, like the main bounty hunter, because I thought he could have played the host maybe, but
totally. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a cool addition. I love that this movie that we're getting it sooner rather than later. I believe it was.
I know.
Yeah, because shit, I miss Glenn Powell. I want to see Glenn back on the big screen already. It's been 6 months.
Yeah. Well, what can you tell us about? Well, I love this idea. I love Colman Domingo. I hope he gets nominated for Sing Sing, but I don't know if he will. I hope Macklin gets nominated for Oscars. I don't know if he will. But if you haven't seen Sing Sing, I highly recommend it. You want to see more of Coleman's great work, watch Sing Sing if you can get your hands on it or wherever, VOD or what have you. It's incredible. What are your thoughts about Glenn Powell's production company working with Universal Pictures here, Jeff? I mean, he is starting to move into, dare I say it, I mean, he's moving into upper territory here as a entity in Hollywood. Pretty quick ascent for a guy who, he took a while to get here, but once he got here, he is moving quickly up the ranks and grabbing onto certain status symbols for himself and developing a lot of projects here for consumption. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think his ascent speaks to the need for new movie stars. Like we want new stars. We want a new crowd. We've been watching the same people for decades.
Yeah.
And I think that he has a certain everyman quality that makes him really likable. I think he's very charming. Yeah. He's good looking. He's the kind of guy, women want to fuck and guys want to hang out with, grab a beer with. And that's what makes a movie star.
I don't disagree. Yeah.
You can't have a guy who's like too pretty, because then guys resent him. And Glenn's obviously a very, very good looking guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he can be one of the bros. The fact that like Pat McAfee can call him up and get him on the phone while he's on the thing.
That was crazy.
I think endears him to, the kind of guys who buy movie tickets.
Yeah.
And he's just a chill fucking dude, Glenn Powell. So I'm thrilled for his success. And I think that he's also not like a 25-year-old kid who's getting a deal. Right.
Right.
He's been through the ringer. He's seen what works and what doesn't. And he co-wrote Hitman.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's getting a production deal and he's going to be able to make his own vehicles and help other people get their movies made, I like the taste that he's exhibited so far. He hasn't signed on to anything where I'm like, "Ugh, this is a bad call."
And this is starting to this has been happening now for the last few years, right? Margot Robbie moving into the EP side of things.
And the Racial Draft podcast says, plus he's white.
Yeah, well, that helped. I mean,
go on.
No, it's perfect. But yeah, Tom Holland, we heard about him a couple of weeks ago, right? Signing that production deal with Sony. They're going to do 3 projects together. So we see these actors understand. It's like athletes nowadays, right? In the past, they blew their money. They got paid all this money in the 90s and they blew it. They didn't have good money managers. Nowadays, athletes walk in, they got multiple revenue streams. They're on top of their money. They're they're investing. They're divergent in how they're spending their money. So they're set for the rest of their lives. I see actors coming into the business now. As soon as they get a few hits, it's immediate. Let's start a production company. Immediate. Let's get me on EP stuff. Let's get me producing stuff, because they understand there's multiple ways to make money, and Hollywood is much more open for these actors to embrace these opportunities because there is less of a barrier between actors and fans, I think, nowadays. So fans go, "Oh, you're going here? I'm going with you here." And so it makes all the sense in the world to grab that opportunity and run with it. So shout out to Glenn Powell, who moved out of LA. And as you said, it's not a 25-year-old kid. It's a guy in his 30s who has been through the wars of being a young actor in LA and seen all the negative things that can happen. Now that it's hitting, I think he's doing it in the right way, right perspective, right approach, So yeah, more power to him. Yes, they're diversifying. That's what I meant to say. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Is there anything else you want? Oh yeah, let's talk about this Danny Boyle situation, Jeff. This is happening now. Danny Boyle will direct the third 28 years later movie. This is being reported in a number of places here. This is originally from the Empire magazine, but it won't be shot until audiences respond to the first film, Jeff. So he's like, I'm going to wait. I'm going to send another director out there for the second installment, but I'm going to wait till the first installment comes out and we'll see how they react. And then I'll do things. He also shot down the rumor that zombie was Cillian Murphy. He thought it was silly that people were thinking that. And he also said that Cillian will not appear in the first movie. So your thoughts on all the stuff that's coming out here, your feelings on all of this stuff.
I'm sure Danny Boyle would have loved to have done the entire trilogy himself. It was probably just too much work, right? It was just like, I need someone to come do the second movie while I make the first one. And then, while the promotion's going on for the second one or whatever, I can focus on the third.
And you reported this, by the way, about the cameo and all of that. So
I did. Yeah. I told you guys, Cillian, because everyone was reporting Cillian as like, he's in the movie, done deal. Like he's been seen on set. Like, I'm like, maybe he visited the set, but according to my source, He doesn't show up until the end of the second movie.
Oh, wow.
He plays a significant role in the third film.
Yeah.
And that's why Danny Boyle's coming back to direct that one, because that's the Cillian Murphy movie. And Cillian's like, I'll come back if I'm working with you, Danny Boyle. But yeah, he just pops up. He's like in the last, in the last scene, basically, for the second one. And I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. Sorry, I like it too, because you put out the first one, you lay the groundwork because it's been so long. You lay the groundwork of what the universe is now, because you're the guy who did the first movies. And then you hand it off to a very good director to step in and see what she can do with it, to give a different perspective on it. And then you come in. This is the plan. If Star Wars had done this from the beginning, I think a lot of people would be much more relaxed on how it turned out. But because this is the plan, it's much more laid out and planned out. It's really smart. And I agree with you. I'm sure Cillian was like, okay, I'll do a cameo in the second film. That's it. But I'll be in your hands in the third film, and we'll close the book on this story in the third film once and for all. So I like that idea a lot. Anything more to say on this?
I mean, other than, if you guys read my 2025 preview of the most anticipated movies, this is no joke. One of my best sources says that this is the best script they read all year.
Wow.
They said that they were moved to tears by the script for 28 years later.
Yeah.
They said the second one wasn't very good, but
and Sony could use a win here, right? I mean, after the
I think it's going to
situation.
I mean, that obviously the way that trailer performed. I think F1 needs to watch out.
Oh,
that's what I think. There's something else with 28 years later, though. What was I gonna?
Is there anything else that you wanted to say?
I forget.
Any news on any other casting or any other story?
Is there something else with Boyle this week? Something else with him? No.
I don't know. Here's the things that I have from Culture Crave. Cillian Murphy not appearing in the film. Danny Boyle. The rest of the world outside the UK is relatively uninfected, so it's localized in the UK. This virus that's there. Danny Boyle didn't. I said that Aaron Taylor Johnson's character is taking his son on a rite of passage trip to show what's happened to the UK. That's what you see in that trailer. So there you go. Yeah, that's stuff that they have.
Yeah, whatever. That's all I got.
Okay, that's all you got. All right. I just wanted to make sure we got to all of that. All right, let me get rid of that one.
The DCU yet? This is wild.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, let's move on to this situation here. Andy Muschietti, recently of the Batman Brave and the Bold fame, spoke about the situation going on that everyone's talking about with Robert Pattinson being part of the James Gunn's DCU, possibly. He was on a podcast. He told Radio TU this, and this is translated from Spanish to English, by the way. He said, there is a Batman that, as everyone knows, will belong to the new DCU. Matt Reeves' Batman is pretty clearly not part of this new universe. However, Warner and DC are continuing with the second part of Reeves' Batman. The second part, as everyone knows, has always also been delayed to 2027 or something like that. The Brave and the Bold will take some time before it comes out. It would be absurd to release two Batman movies at the same time. Funny how I came to that idea. What DC is doing is working on a plan so that the two movies don't overlap. As for my participation in the movie, for now, there are good intentions. There are intentions. They want me to do it. I want to do it. I want to make the movie. I feel like Andy is speaking directly to me, Jeff. So your thoughts on this situation? Why is Andy talking about this? Why is he being James Gunn's mouthpiece? Do you believe in what he's saying here? And we'll follow it up with Matt Reeves' comment earlier this week to Joshua Horowitz.
I mean, this is a mess. Another day, the mess at DC grows only bigger.
Yeah.
This is... I mean, a couple weeks ago, he said Brave and the Bold had been delayed or postponed or pushed or was on hold or whatever, right? Yeah. This whole time you've been saying he's not even doing the movie.
He's not doing the movie. Hey, right? And other people are chiming in. Campy did a thing on it. By time to shine, hello, put a tweet out. Welcome to the party, guys.
Gunn says on social media, that's not true. Bold and the Brave hasn't been delayed.
Sure.
Then Reeves does his thing where he's like, yeah, who knows? Maybe it'll be merged with the DCU, right? With the Batman stuff. Then Muschietti comes out and says, no, Pattinson's not the DCU's Batman.
Right.
James Gunn and I had a conversation. When was that conversation? Oh, yeah. It's like 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It says this morning he hasn't actually spoken to Gunn since before he went off to direct Superman.
Right.
Like, so things change.
Yeah.
Minds change.
Right.
People come to their senses and say, well, how many Batmen are we going to have running around at the same time? Yeah. And again, it's this like just the general idea that one hand doesn't know what the other one's doing.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Someone's doing this over here. Someone's doing this over here. And there's just no communication. No. Can't we just have directors speak for their own movies and not have people speak for universes and studios and things like that? Just have directors talk for their own movies.
Yeah. Aren't we in this in a mini version of this with the Ray film? Is Sean Levy going to do the Ray film? Is it Charmin Obey-Chanoy? Who is telling the truth here about the situation? You don't know. And so this situation again, and Andy, look, Andy's a very, I appreciate this being a fellow South American. my parents are from Bolivia. He's from Argentina. There's a lot of confidence in the South American people. Let me just put that on the table here. And he's got a new project he wants to do. And he's like, I deserve $200 million for this movie. It's amazing. That's the kind of guts you got to have to succeed in this business. And the fact that he's out here saying, look, they want me. I know they want me. I want to do it. We're just going to figure it's just that we don't want two Batman running around. No one came up with that in ahead of time. And now all of a sudden it's an issue about scheduling the Batmans at a certain time. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. And it's all meant to make him look good down the road. I'm sure James Gunn is approving everything he says here because they want to find a Friday at 5 p.m. to announce when he's off the film, because there's no way he's doing it. They're kicking it down the road.
Or Wednesday in the middle of the entire city burning, you know? like Kelly Campbell being out at Peacock, the president of Peacock.
Oh, yes.
They dumped that in the middle of the city burning.
Yeah.
It was such a weirdly timed announcement for something like that. Normally you will see that like late on a Friday.
Yeah.
This was clear. I mean, I felt like the Jessica Alba Cash Warren divorce as well. There's a bunch of things that people were just like, shit, bad news. Let's just dump it now. No one's paying attention.
Yeah. So we'll see in all this. You know, I reposted today like the clip from us talking about it back in February of last year, where I made it very clear that I'd heard he was gone. And I'd heard it from an equally strong source as the Hulk stuff. So this is the situation there when you look at it. So, you know, we will see when it all comes to bear what the truth is. But on the other side, Matt Reeves, the guy who is actually doing the Batman Part 2, he's actually doing it. He was asked by Joshua Horowitz here from the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast. This was on a red carpet event recently about Robert Pattinson possibly being the Batman in James Gunn's DCU. This is a recent comment, by the way, just a couple of days ago. And he said, it really comes down to whether it makes sense. Jeff, that doesn't sound like a no to me. There was a story I wanted to tell, the epic crime saga. It's been important to me to play that out. And James and Peter have been really great about that. I think he's telling the truth about that. They are letting us do that. What the future brings, I can't really tell you. I have no idea. My head is down right now on getting the Batman Part 2 shooting, which is the most important thing. Then Joshua followed up and said, and if they decide we really want Rob to be our DCU Batman, Reeves said, I don't know. We will have to see where that goes. Jeff, that's not a no. Nowhere is there a no. So
this is just, and granted, it was a prediction at the time, but they said Matt Reeves, he was supposed to do a trilogy. This is what's going to happen. It's going to say, Matt Reeves, you're not doing a trilogy anymore. Yeah. We're going to let you make your second movie, tell your story, do whatever it is you want. That's why the writing has maybe been taking so long, potentially. Maybe he had to trim it from 3 movies to 2. I don't know. This is pure speculation, but I'm going to just guess that it's you get to do whatever you want for that second movie, and then after that, we're taking him, and he's being integrated.
Right.
And you'll have a little bit less control. You'll still be the Godfather. You'll still be part of the Brain Trust, but so that's just what I'm gathering, is that he had a vision that he's had to change because they've decided. Again, he had embarked on this before Gunn came in, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So now the Gunn comes in, it's like, okay, I now have been tasked with doing something with Batman. What are we going to do, and who are we going to do it with? I don't know why you get rid of Robert Pattinson if everybody likes him.
Yeah.
And if that's settled, right, and it's what are we going to do, then it's let Matt finish what he started. But we
out of respect,
maybe I'll get to finish this trilogy. Maybe I'll get a third film, and then Pattinson will be integrated. But it seems like, given the timeline of how long all this is taking, maybe just one more movie. Yeah, we are playing the fucking guessing game here, Senor Nerd. If you want to fucking get the answers, have James Gunn start a fucking podcast.
Why do you watch this fucking show if you don't understand how the show works? You know, I don't understand when people come in with those nonsense comments. I'm sitting here in my mother's basement and you guys are just guessing.
How long have I been doing this? I mean,
I know.
I think I'm just. These are good guesses.
I can tell from my mother's basement that you're guessing. Yeah, it's like, oh, come on.
I don't get shit that couldn't happen.
I have no idea how you do what you do, but I think I know what the truth is here from here. And it's like, what is wrong with you all? I mean, it's not, you don't have to be disrespectful. That's the thing at the end of the day. You don't have to be disrespectful, but you know, you also don't, you can take an issue with it in a logical way without being a jerk off about it. And that's kind of the truth at the end of the day. So anyway, let's move on here a little. Anything more to say on this, or shall we move on, brother?
I think we can move on.
Okay. All right. Variety was reporting here in their conversation about Baldoni coming in to be in Ridley Scott's new film. They're claiming that the Bee Gees movie has now been moved up. It is absolutely going to be his next project. We've talked about this. You've even asked on the show, where's the Bee Gees movie? What's going on with the Bee Gees movie? Well, it seems like it has had moved up and it will now shoot before the Dog Stars. That's what they're reporting there in Variety. Have Scott and Paramount finally come to an agreement as to the creative direction they want to take the Bee Gees biopic in? It seems like they have. So what are your thoughts on this for a Lordy going into Dog Stars and for this situation here with the Bee Gees movies and Ridley Scott?
Another mess. Just like they announced, I mean, Dog Stars was going to be next. They announced Lordy coming in to replace Mescal.
Yeah, Paul Mescal. Yeah.
Lordy just as busy.
Yes.
Has season 3 of Euphoria and Wuthering Heights.
Yeah.
So, okay, that tells me Dog Star, either something's up with Euphoria, which is totally possible.
Yes.
But, you know, it seems like HBO has really committed itself to starting either later this month or next. That's going to happen. Wuthering Heights is happening. That has a date. Yeah. So it's Dog Stars that is going to be delayed, you know?
Yeah.
The question is how much? Now, I was reading one of the trade stories, and I forget which one because they deleted it so quickly.
Ooh.
But they'd said something about Dog Stars shooting on the heels of Bee Gees. And that's when I wrote that night about Dog Stars and everything and how, you know, it'll probably have to push just due to Lordy's schedule. And then the next day, Variety came out clarifying that, Bee Gees is first.
Yeah.
You're right, John. They must have figured something out because I know Bee Gees hit a snag as well.
Yeah.
I never really understood the stalling. Like, if you're the Bee Gees movie, you're trying to get out before these Beatles movies.
100%.
Yeah, you don't want to have 4 more music biopics hit the market and then you come in after those. Like, I think you're trying to get ahead of that whole epic Beatlesness. And Ridley Scott works fast enough that he can do it. But yeah, you have to prioritize this over Dog Stars, which doesn't feel like a movie that really has the heat. What is the audience demand? We're like, we need to make this right now.
Well, I think you bring up an excellent point because it would have mirrored real life because when the Beatles came out in the 60s, the Bee Gees had come out in the 50s and they were actually forgotten in the 60s. It took the disco stuff in the 70s for people to fully reappreciate the Bee Gees again. So it would have mirrored what happened decades earlier if you had put out the Bee Gees movie at the same time as the Beatles movie. So it wouldn't have made any sense. Absolutely do this first. Absolutely get on this as quickly as possible. Because those Beatles movies, everyone's going to be talking about those. And you got 4 of them. I think you said they're coming out all in the same year or separated by 3 months, which is mind-blowing to me.
The plan's supposed to be, I guess.
Yeah. They're like, we'll take your Kevin Costner horizon and we'll up it to the next level by dropping them all the same. What about, let's get into this one, Jeff. We got to get into this one because I got to get your thoughts on this one. But one of your favorite novels here, Bret Easton Ellis claimed that Guadagnino's American Psycho wasn't actually a thing. His remake wasn't actually a thing. He even went as far as to call it, quote, fake news, And then in a recent interview, Guadagnino talked about American Psycho finally for the first time, and he sees it as, quote, in development. Here's his quote to GQ. Any director in this moment, they are all developing projects. Oh, my God. Sometimes you develop with Hollywood. Sometimes you have material being handed to you by a studio, by a producer. And I think all of us do make 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 developments. And certainly he's got a lot of things on his plate with Sergeant Rock, with other things going on here. So, but your thoughts here, Jeff? Is this the end of the American Psycho remake? What is your thoughts here? Or is Brett angling? Because Brett's always a little stinker, Brett Easton Ellis, man. So,
first of all, I'll talk to you off camera about this when we level up after. But when we do the post show recap, this is very real. There are just parts of the announcement that are not. So Brett was half right. Okay, and first of all, if you haven't been paying attention with Bret Easton Ellis and what's going on with him, Joseph Quinn, right, was going to star in his directorial debut.
Yes, right.
He fell out. Right, so he fell out of that. HBO dropped The Shards,
right,
which was going to be an adaptation of Brett's book, and now this American Psycho stuff. So I just think Brett is a little frustrated with Hollywood, in the way that he and his work is treated by Hollywood, and so he went on this whole fake news tirade about American Psycho. I believe that he's right about Austin Butler in the sense that story was maybe a little premature.
Okay.
He has not been cast, Austin Butler. He has not been offered the role. No one has been offered the role because there is no script.
Right.
The project has not been greenlit. But to say that there's, that it's fake news and that there's no contract with anybody, that's not true, because there are contracts with Luca and Scott Z. Burns. Those guys have done deals. Yeah. Luca has been developing this for months, and Scott Z. Burns has been writing at that time too. His script is due in a few weeks. So after they get that script in, then they'll determine, how much can we make this for? When can we make it? And who do we want to make it with?
Yeah.
And they'll see what Luca's schedule is like then. Because like I'd said all along, I'd heard Luca was going to do Sergeant Rock this fall.
Right.
With Daniel Craig. I still think that is going to be next. American Psycho is a development title. I just think that, I had sort of intimated, they only did this to look better for a sale.
Right.
I've been assured that's not the case, that this is a priority for them. They do want to make it. It's just unclear whether it's going to be with Austin. Right. Luke has been talking, like any director does, talking to actors, taking meetings with actors, and then Austin's among them, but he's also a busy guy.
Yeah, that's a fair point. All right, we got almost 800 people joining us live right now. Thank you so much for hanging out with us right now. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that bell button, leave your comments on everything. And Jeff, where can they subscribe to your newsletter?
TheInsnider.com, guys. Please, I'm doing the Lord's work out there.
He dropped the Rory McCann scoop in the newsletter first, then came on. He was very gracious to come on the show today and talk about it immediately after he dropped it. So if you want that news immediately, it is the newsletter that you want to subscribe to.
There's plenty of other good stuff coming, guys. I think it's going to be a good year. I think people are catching on to this newsletter as an alternative for the trades.
100%. No matter how much people get upset about it. All right. Is there anything? The two. Let's talk. Hold on. Let me look at what I've got here. The two trailers. What do you want to say about what is it? Where is it? I can't find it right now. The two, A Working Man and Reacher season 3, both all dropped this week. Working Man is Jason Statham with David Ayer. Did you like that trailer? And Reacher season 3, I was a bit underwhelmed by that trailer. You bring in Anthony Michael Hall. I'm kind of out on him being a villain, but what are your thoughts on both of these?
I thought they both look good. I mean, I'm a Reacher guy. I think that show is perfect for what it is. Like, the fact they're bringing in that dude who's even bigger than Reacher.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. He looked like the budget went up significantly.
Yeah.
I mean, I may be wrong about that. I have no idea.
I don't think you bring in Anthony Michael Hall if the budget goes up significantly. I'm sorry. I just don't think that's true.
I just thought that, the action looked maybe, like it was on a larger scale than in past seasons.
Sure.
Because now they know they have a hit, Yeah.
But it's also the last season, right? They're not going to do any more.
Is it the last season?
That's what I saw written up somewhere, that it's the last season, which I didn't know either.
I would be surprised if that was I'd be shocked if that was the case. I mean, how many seasons of Bosch did they do? And
well, I don't see Titus Welliver and the same kind of demand that Alan
Yeah,
Rickman.
I mean, I'm sure, but I don't know. I'd be surprised if it ended after this season. Who knows? The other one was sorry, what? It was,
A Working Man, the
yeah,
Jason Statham.
dude, that looked great.
Yeah.
That's all kind of movie. Like, and yeah, Ayer has done other stuff than like Suicide Squad and Beekeeper, but like I like that they threw the Beekeeper mention in there.
Yeah.
This was a hit. And
it was a hit.
This is again.
Yeah.
I
kind of like it. There's a little niche that's being carved out with people like Frank Grillo and John Bernthal, David Ayer now, Jason Statham's in this thing as well. There's this little niche being carved out of tough man movies, and I like that they're coming back in certain ways. Reacher is a connective tissue to that as well, even though Reacher is much more progressive as a person in his films. There's no mistake that they're using human trafficking, which is a right-wing talking point, although everybody should care about human trafficking for sure, but it's been a right-wing. So they're leaning in a certain direction with these movies, but they're still incredibly satisfying. And the commentary they're making within them, I think, is not necessary for the film. The film is good without it, but the fact that it's in it, it satisfies a certain market that they're trying to reach. So for me, this all makes a lot of sense. And, I looked at Lindley, I was like, they're running out of titles for Statham movies. A Working Man? That's so easy. A Working Man. What's next?
Next movie will be called Guy with Hands. Oh, by the way, I did love that part of the trailer where they're like, "Oh, dude, you don't do whatever." You're like, they said,
"Oh yeah."
What do they do? Mitts or something? Or
yeah.
I
do like the situation here though with him, but I'm concerned about Michael Pena. Jeff, what's going on here? I mean, he's like a throw-in. He's like the player to be named later in this movie, and Pena's been a name for quite a few years. The same thing happened in Landman. No spoiler, but he's only in one episode, and I'm like, why are you doing these one-offs? What is the goal here? So
did you want him to be the blind weapons expert, John?
No, David Harbour was awesome. That is awesome. I mean, he's an idiot for cheating on Lily Allen and ruining that marriage. But I'm loving him in Creature Commandos, and I loved him here in this trailer. So,
Michael Pena, you got to eat. I mean, I like that he's the guy in Landman who they bring in first. An episode. And you're like, oh, this guy's going to be important. I know that. I know that. And then I haven't seen Landman, but
but that's what happened.
I take it something happens to him.
It does. Rocha Reacher has been renewed. Okay, all right. So it's been renewed. So whoever I read on that was mistaken that it was a final season.
Reacher will return.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude.
Okay, and then what else have we got? No, we got to get to questions here, so I want to make sure we hit everything that we said.
Looks good too. That Barry Keoghan, Christopher Abbott revenge movie.
Oh, I need to watch that one. I haven't seen that one. Real quick, I know you wrote about this in your newsletter already, Jeff, but anything to say about the Golden Globes? You guys did your predictions on FYC, but then you followed up by saying these don't mean anything. So anything stand out to you from the Golden Globes?
I mean, I'm glad it was a fun night for Nikki Glaser fans. Like, she did a good job with her monologue.
Great job.
She's a talent. I've been saying that for 10 years. Nice in Hollywood to catch on. But yeah, like the winners, as far as like the Oscar race, it was so frustrating just see so many people be like, oh, well, now Demi Moore's a lock, and now it's just like
Emilia Perez.
That's not how it works, guys. Why do 300 random people thinking something? How does that have any correlation to what a different group of 9,000 people think?
Yeah.
I don't understand the leaps of logic and people just, they do it. I don't know, to put some sort of significance on the Golden Globes. There is none.
Yeah.
There is none. There's no overlap between these groups. It has nothing to do with Oscars. You can, if you're telling me that Oscar voters are going to change their vote based on who gives the best speech at the Golden Globes, then we're more fucked than I thought that we were. Okay. I only do the awards prognostication because I have to believe that it means something. Yeah. And if you're telling me that a speech now gets you a nomination that you weren't going to get before, that's crazy.
Yeah. But you know how crazy Hollywood is. So it's not necessarily out of the realm of possibility. Yeah, I thought Nikki did a great job. I didn't think she was I thought it was gonna be a bit of a train wreck because I didn't know Nikki could pull back on the horses, and she pulled back on the horses. But those Howard Stern jokes that if you guys haven't watched those Howard Stern jokes she dropped that she couldn't say on the Golden Globes, those are incredibly funny. The Nicole Kidman one had me on the ground. I mean,
the Alec Baldwin stuff was really but that's the thing. As a professional, this is a brilliant joke. It's a killer joke, but I can't say this on network television.
Right. And I thought she did the sketches. The popular sketch was hilarious. So she was able to work not only with just the monologues or occasional jokes, but also within the sketches, which I thought worked really well. Yeah, and it would frustrated me. I was watching the Ringers movie breakdown, and they were talking Golden Globes, the three of them talking about, and they were like, "Oh, this means Emilia Perez might be now we have to take." I'm like, "What are you talking? You guys are in the business. You know that this doesn't mean anything. And then a goddamn thing about the Oscars. Not a thing.
I wish it was that easy, that it was just like, oh, this movie wins this award, and so it's going to win the other award. One plus one does not always equal two like that.
Yeah.
I've really been. I mean, that podcast in particular. I'm just stunned. I'm stunned by a lot of stuff I see on a daily basis from mainstream media.
You have to ask: is it a convenient misleading of the people so that they keep coming back to watch and listen, so the ratings stay there at a certain level? Because there's no way these people work in the business and say the things that they're saying because they know better. They must know better, which is what's so confusing when you see them saying the things that they're saying. I've been in the business less time than Fantasy, and I'm like, there's no way he is actually pushing out this stuff. There's no way.
Perez is dead as far as a best picture contender. But yeah, when it's being voted on by 300 international journalists, and I'm not surprised that the international movie beat Anora and Wicked. Like, that's just not going to happen in a city of 9,000 professionals with way better taste. Exactly.
Well, it's a French director, a Mexican trans actor, like there's a Spanish trans actor, right, who came to Mexico and did it. So like there's all kinds of stuff there that but I do think Zoe is absolutely a front runner for best supporting actress. I do think that's the one.
She always was the front runner.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that is an international picture play. That is not a best picture play. And like now it's only going to embolden Netflix to spend more on FYC ads, thinking that they have a chance. When I'm telling you, Netflix, if you want to save money, don't buy a single FYC ad on, targeted towards best picture, and enjoy the 10 million. Throw a big party.
For all the Emilia Perez people, throw them a big party. All right, let's get into these questions, Jeff, because we have a limited amount of time. I know that. We got 28 of these, so strap in.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Dennis Hoffman said, Jeff, loved your most anticipated films of 25 list. Caught Stealing is high for me. Shocked WB/Legendary is barely campaigning Butler or Dune 2 in FYC. Yeah. Jeff, people said, I'm not going to vote for Dune 2 or Dune 1 because it's a part 1 of a part 2. Well, here comes a part 2 that's better than a part 1, and no one is even considering it for best picture to win. It's fucking mind-blowing, man.
Real quickly, I love how my brother's trying to move in on your territory here, John.
Where's that?
Best name tape. Love this show. How about Sneider does his own podcast? In Sneider, Out Sneider. The Out Sneider would get to be an average Joe fan. Johnny, my brother John, is the other Johnny boy in my life.
Is this him?
Yeah, that's my brother. I mean, if anyone else could do a podcast with me, it'd be one of my brothers, since they've known me forever and that we have the same sense of humor.
What does Johnny do? What does Johnny do?
He's a graphic designer.
Oh, okay. Does he have a boss or does he work for himself?
He has a boss. Yeah.
Okay. I tell you what, I'm gonna call up your boss, Johnny, and I'm gonna see if he needs a new graphic designer who comes in.
It's not gonna matter because it's my other brother's best friend. It's a whole incestuous thing going on in that building.
I'll find a woman to come in between them. I'll find a woman to destroy all three of them, for God's sakes. I know what I can do.
One day, the Sneider Brothers podcast, it'll be a lot of stories that, oh my God, that my brothers have all the dirt on me.
You and the Kelsey brothers have just
back to my 25 most. Yes, Caught Stealing, Austin Butler, Darren Aronofsky, crime thriller, Say No More. I'm there. Shocked that WB Legendary is barely campaigning Butler on Dune 2. Yeah. I am a little surprised by that too. He was a great villain. I don't know why Warner Brothers is like not on the ball when it comes to the Dune stuff, or if they're just content getting 10 nominations and winning 4 or 5 technical awards.
Yeah, it seems like, that's not a big deal to them. It's kind of mind-blowing. Dennis Hoffman says Lee Winnell for Clayface. That could be interesting. I like the idea of Lee Winnell for Clayface. Jeff?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what else is he working on now?
Comes out next week, right? Wolfman. We'll see where he's at, but it's gotten good reviews.
That would be interesting if it was like, hey, let's see if this movie gets good reviews, and then if it does, you'll get the Clayface gig. Someone had a crazy suggestion.
Okay.
For Clayface. I don't want it to be misconstrued or taken the wrong way.
Okay. Now you're adding time to the show. Just want to make it clear. I'm trying to get through these. So
I just think it's like it was an interesting suggestion.
Okay.
And I don't want people to be offended, but like, you know, I don't want them to be so quick to write it off either.
Okay.
Could you see Adam Pearson from A Different Man as Clayface?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think people would have
they'd be a little offended, right?
I think they. Well, I don't know.
Or
it would depend if he's excited about it. I think that would quell a lot of issues. But I don't know. It's an interesting choice because certainly he's getting a lot of good accolades from that film.
Listen, he's a damn good actor.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's not always parts for, you know, someone with that affliction.
Right.
Is this an opportunity? I mean, and would he turn it down? I mean, if you're leaving a DC movie, I don't see anybody turning that down.
I will say this though: you're going to have to find a really strong, well-known actor to play the counter to Clayface. That's what you have to do because Adam is known within a certain section of the community, but he's not.
You need a name. I get it.
Right.
But if that's a lower budget title, I don't know. I hope that guy works again and continues to, you know, work after A Different Man and everything.
And shout out to Sebastian Stan, who got a Golden Globe for that.
Brooklyn, I paid my brother for the Celtics tickets. It took 6 months. All thanks to you guys for chipping in here.
Do you like it? Yeah, it says Jeff just subscribed to the newsletter. Bang! Great breakfast reading. Yeah, he means in the pooper. Online rumors are saying Skydance Media is dissatisfied with the Star Trek franchise and wants Alex Kurtzman replaced. True or bullshit, Jeff?
I mean, he's talking about the TV franchise, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because there's nothing going on movie-wise.
I don't know how you could be displeased. It seems like the TV stuff is what's keeping it going, and people seem to like that stuff, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, like Star Trek. Picard season 3 was great. They just wrapped up Discovery, which a lot of people was a bit of a divisive show. Section 31 is coming. Lower Decks was well received.
There's no cohesion, right? I mean, and I think that's what they need to do. They need to let this whole Kurtzman whatever play out.
Yeah.
You know that they should be dissatisfied. I think it's just we want someone to come in and do like a DCU universe where they're doing movies and TV shows. I don't think Kurtzman is that guy. I don't think Simon Kinberg is that guy.
No.
And I do think that Star Trek needs to be David Ellison's top priority when Skydance takes over Paramount. Because that franchise is just dying on the vine. There's no reason for it, but you need to reboot and you need to tell Chris Pine to go away.
There you go. James D. Michelle says Eddie Muschietti is covering his ass. He hasn't heard from Gunn in a year. Meanwhile, Gunn greenlit Clayface and dynamic duo during that time.
Yes. Read into that Azua.
Shawnee Bear says, what's up, Shawnee? Good to see you. He said, I love that the biggest Trump supporter in Hulk Hogan got everyone in LA on Monday Night's Raw Netflix debut was booed out of the building for being a Trump supporter and a racist. As one of the, I'm sure he was being booed out for a number of reasons. I know I tweeted out a particular reason, but there are a number of reasons to boo Hulk Hogan out of the building. But Jeff, it was such a big news story that CNN covered it, Variety covered it, Deadline had an article about it. No one else was talking about it in the matches or anything else. And it only did a 2.6, which I think is not that great of a number for a debut for something like this. No one was talking about The Rock. They were all talking about Hulk Hogan getting booed out of the building. Guy who hasn't wrestled in like 17 years, legitimately booed out of the building because of all. That was
unthinkable, though. If you told teenage Jeff or 10-year-old Jeff that Hulk Hogan down the line is going to be getting booed out of buildings, this was the American icon.
He was. Yeah. And he was there to promote his Real American Beer. I was doing a reaction to this. I watched it live and reacted to it on my channel, and I was shocked. As a guy who was a Hogan fan since I was 10 years old, I was shocked to see him getting booed out.
And he was over the role of Hulk Hogan.
And he was clearly frazzled, which was something to see. Johnny Bear fell in love with the trans character in Squid Game Season 2. Yeah, they were great in that role for sure. Good call. Matt Sinister McCall says, I love South Korean movies almost more than my mother. Whoa. Rank my 5 favorites. Old Boy, Parasite, I Saw the Devil Train to Busan, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
That's a pretty good top 5. I've never actually seen Train to Busan. I need to get on that.
Jeff.
I really like Lady Vengeance. I might like Lady Vengeance more than Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's the order, to be honest with you. Although I'll probably move Train to Busan ahead of I Saw the Devil, but other than that, I think this is a good order. Shawnee Bear comes back. Please donate the money. I super chat to help. Thank you, Shawnee. You're the best.
Well, John and I will huddle up after this and put some sort of thing together to send out.
Yeah. C-Ham says, I thought Ladder 49 was a good movie about firefighters.
Yeah, I didn't love that one. I thought Only the Brave was better.
I thought Only the Brave was great. Cowboys fan 92 says, hi guys, this fire's crazy. My thoughts go out to everybody on all levels in terms of the fires. By the way, John, me and my sister are eating up Only Murders in the Building. We are locked into season 2. Good. Glad you're enjoying it. Season 3 is going to be half and half. Season 4 redeems itself. So that's what I would say. Jeff, have you watched that show? Only Murders in the Building?
I watched the first season, and I think I split halfway through season 2. It's like a lot of murders going on in this building. Do they have security? They got any cameras?
Brooklyn, kind of random. Any news on Tarantino's last movie? There's not going to be a last movie.
I was going to say, yeah, it came out a few years ago.
Anything new? I don't think there's anything new for a while, man.
I mean, I've heard rumors, and they are good. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Yanks, Jeff, a couple of months ago, you said you heard some bad rumors about someone involved with The Brutalist. Can you elaborate as award season heats up? Oh,
no, no. Definitely not going to be the one to let the cat out of that bag, because I don't know what the story was. I don't know what the allegations were. I don't know why that person was being accused of anything, but it never got written. So someone put the kibosh on it.
Yeah. Oh, that movie is a chore. Lemmy Ward said, hi, boys. I don't mean it in a negative way. I mean, like, there's a lot of emotions that it's putting you through with the experiences that Adrian Brody goes through. Lemmy Ward, hi, boys. Do you think Demi Moore is firming up to win Best Actress for the Oscars? Certainly be nominated. I don't know if she'll win. Jeff, do you think she'll win? No. Oh, really? Who do you think will win?
I don't know yet.
Okay. All right.
I got to think on that, but no, I don't think it's going to be Demi Moore. It's a great comeback story. She does have the narrative, but that is a divisive movie. You should see the text just from my family members who saw the substance and they're just like, what the fuck? Like, and that's got to be the response of most Academy members.
Probably. I like that last 20 minutes, but I get it. It's crazy in the best ways, but I like body horror movies. So Dancing Dog 60 says the character of James Bond died in the last Bond film. We know the character of James Bond is coming back. These are fictional characters recast, I guess, connecting the T'Challa stuff. Good point. Yeah. Jay Barrett Mash says, no question. Just want to send some love and support to you guys rock. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Sam L says thoughts of the Golden Globes winners and impact. I think we addressed that already, Sam. Jeff, anything more you want to add to that?
Nah.
Okay. Now and Again Productions. Thoughts on Colman Domingo's casting as the game show host and Running Man? We talked about that. This cast is pretty stacked. I wonder how big his role will be. Yeah, I mean, Richard Dawson was kind of a name when he got cast, obviously because of Family Feud and stuff. So do you think Colman will have a big role in this? Is that why you cast him?
It's been years since I saw Running Man, so I don't know how big a role Richard Dawson had, but just based on the size of this cast.
Yeah.
And how action-packed it will be. Like, I imagine it's maybe a smaller role. Maybe 10, 15 minutes of screen time tops.
I mean, Richard Dawson is the main villain in that film. He's the main villain. And
right, he won't be in this. It sounds like it's Brolin.
Right. So it'll be a different approach. 34 Virgo says, is Storm casting coming? Yeah, Cynthia Erivo manifesting playing Storm. Jeff, have you heard anything, or can you say?
I mean, if you had put a gun to my head last week, and asked who was going to play Storm in X-Men, I may very well have said Cynthia Erivo.
Yeah. But now,
yeah, I mean, and then the fact that she came out lobbying for it. I mean, we'll see. I think she'd probably be a good pick. No,
yeah, I agree.
Good actress.
Good actress. Owen Lanning says, put this on Christian's show, but wanted Jeff's opinion. I would love to see Lee Winnell direct Clayface. Oh yeah, Owen, we talked about that. Well, you said Adam Pearson. Do you like the idea of Lee Winnell if he was to come in and do it?
Yeah, I haven't seen Wolfman yet. I see it. I think Monday night. Did you see it yet?
No, there's no. It's Monday or Tuesday. I think the Wolfman here.
I mean, it sounds like the reactions are good, but the reactions are always good, with that early press screening crowd. So hard to gauge, but I love what he did with Invisible Man, and I'm sure that he could do it again. I mean, he got Garner and Abbott to sign on, which I thought were, coups.
Which was a coup. You could just say a coup. Hollywood rules, Jeff, because y'all bought the Jeff heat. Jeff, stay safe. Outlaw, good luck to your Skins this weekend. Hopefully Hulk smash. We're not the Skins anymore, buddy boy. We're the Commanders. Thank you very much for wishing us luck, though. Those days are over, my man. Those days are over. Wiley says, my thoughts are with you guys with these awful fires. Stay safe. Have you guys heard any updates on the Springsteen movie? I'm reading the book based on this, and it's really good. Could be special.
Haven't heard any updates, but kind of feel like they should have gotten that Christmas date. You know, I would have followed the Bob Dylan movie playbook on this one. Instead, Timothée Chalamet has a date with Christmas again this year with Marty Supreme.
Oh, yeah.
You know, maybe Springsteen isn't so much like a Christmas kind of guy. Maybe he feels more like a November kind of guy. But I mean, I anticipate this movie coming out this year and Jeremy being in the Oscar race.
Yeah, there you go. Good to see you, Wiley. Thanks for sending it in, man. Matt Sinister McCall says, my source told me Andy Griffith's zombie movie. Yeah, there you go. What would that whistle be like? Draws Walker 9 says, thanks for everything you do, Jeff and John. The hot mic rocks.
Thanks, Draws.
34 Virgo, Clayface or Mr. Freeze casting. Have you heard anything there, Jeff?
No, I mean, and you know, Reeves kind of came out and was like, he kind of alluded to the Mr. Freeze rumors, and you know, it was like, oh, is that what people think? Interesting. I love these guys who are like writing these movies, and it's like they know the answers and they, like lord it over everybody. I mean, it's like, yeah, dude, it's just the latest rumor that I share with people. You know, I told you it came from an unproven, untested source. No, I haven't heard anything with regards to casting or anything like that. I mean, who else could Matt Reeves even be alluding to?
Yeah.
Do you have any guesses?
For Clayface or Mr. Freeze?
No. Just like as far as the villain for Batman 2 goes, if it's not either of those. I mean, I don't know. He might be the only one I'd heard, and that was way, way, way back early in the process.
Yeah. No, I don't think Mr. Freeze would be the main villain. I think he's going to be the secondary villain, but there will be another villain, a much more ruthless villain, I think, than we would have anticipated.
I mean, I'm not familiar with like the Rogues Gallery.
If he wants to go, Calendar Man is an interesting situation. There are a number of serial killers in the world of Gotham, and so that's one that he could explore for sure. That it turned like he did with the Riddler, where a lot of people have kind of like, you know, scoffed at the Riddler or thought the Riddler wasn't that big of a villain. To turn him into this kind of Riddler was pretty incredible. So if you could do that for Calendar Man or some of the other more hardcore villains that have weird names to them, I think he could be a really good thing for him to do. Yeah. Let's see. Mike Larry says show upbeat should soften the edges on X-Men. The guy who made Schindler's List and Saving Private Spielberg would soften the. Yeah, that was 30 years ago, my guy. 30. Why don't you go talk to Shaq? 29 ain't 49, bro. That's the truth. You get softer as you get older. You don't have the edge like you used to. Can he still make great movies? Absolutely. Can he make edgy movies? If he ever did, no. So cut it out. Come on. You want to watch Ready Player One with me and tell me how edgy that is?
I think Peele would be cool. And you know who else makes movies about outsiders?
Who?
Sean Baker. I don't think Sean Baker would ever want to do anything like that.
Damn.
But I'm just saying, like, if you want to get like Sean Baker, Barry Jenkins is, I still think, in the mix with, you know, even after Mufasa. But
right. I like the mania of Sean Baker's brain. So the idea of him doing an X-Men, that could be interesting.
I don't think he has any interest in chasing any of that shit, but you know, he does make interesting movies.
Yeah. Matt says Marilyn Manson biopic would be so controversial. Yeah, you'd never get it.
I see it.
Evan Rachel Wood wouldn't. Francisco Lopez, man, I really hope Pattinson's Batman is not the DCU's Batman. I really want to finally see the Bat family in the DCU.
Why can't he have a Bat family?
I don't know why people are clamoring for the Bat family. You know, that's fun for comics.
What is the Bat family? I never even Batgirl, Bat.
Yes, right. There's a Batgirl. There's multiple Robins. There's Man Bat. There's a creature.
Why can't Batgirl and Robin fit into this? Why can't?
I guess because they think it's a darker situation. So how would it transfer over? It's that kind of thing. The clashing of tones. Even though Metropolis and Gotham have always been different. So.
I don't even understand. Why can't that just be the tone of like the first movie? Why does the second movie have to have the same tone?
That's a good question. All right. Yeah. Here are the members. Alfred Beagle. So that is a dog. Dick Grayson, Betty Kane. Hell, anyway, that's the golden age. But there is like so many: Batgirl, Black Bat, Red Robin, Oracle, Nightwing, Catwoman, Red Hood, Robin, Azrael. It would drive you crazy, Jeff, to keep track of everybody. Captain Penis says, I'm coming late. Your thoughts on A Complete Unknown? Loved it. Chalamet was great. And so was Barbaro. Your thoughts?
I can't get over the Captain Penis is coming late. Your thoughts on A Complete Unknown? I thought it was okay. Like I thought Timmy did a great job, but it felt like it wasn't really like a performance. He didn't build a character like out of whole cloth. He kind of just like mastered his singing style. 2 hours of the movie is just him sitting on a stool singing while people either stare at him in awe, like, oh my God, this guy's so talented, or I love this guy, but I can't be with him. It wasn't very satisfying, I have to say.
Okay. All right. I disagree with Jeff. I loved it. I've seen it 3 times now on the app. I love that movie. Mr. Poppy says, I may not have the best nose, but I know the hot mic always passes my smell test. Y'all stay safe in Cali. Much love, boys. Thank you, Poppy. Thank you, Poppy. Wayne Edwards says, prayers out to all of my fellow Angelinos who are affected by these terrible fires. Sorry to hear about your friends, John and Jeff. Yeah.
I can't.
Go ahead. Sorry, Jeff. What?
I just can't. I can't imagine.
Yeah. Faccia Bruta says, does Jeff know what Mikey Madison will do next other than be interviewed by Isabella Rossellini? What else is she going to do next?
I don't. Very curious to see what that will be, though.
If I am fucking James Gunn or Kevin Feige, I am on the phone with her agent every day. I'm on her for anything. For anything. What do you want to play, Mikey? What do you want to play? Pick a hero out.
Really? You think she's like a generational star? Like
coming out of Anora, man, there was a gutsiness to that performance. And there's again, you said it was weird for me to say this. There's a sexiness to her in that movie that I think could translate in a very powerful way. Plus, when you watch those interviews, man, she's very self-possessed, but there's a little demon waiting to jump out at any moment. And I like that energy in an actor, male or female. I like that electricity. So for me, I would absolutely be like, what do you want to play? Imagine her as Jean Grey. I know we got Sadie Sink, but if she had done Jean Grey, that could be super interesting. Tell me she's not a good Catwoman for Batman. I know you got Zoe, but if you were to do a Brave and the Bold Catwoman, you could absolutely play with her.
Sure. Whatever.
Comic Things says, Jeff, can you
Jamie has an idea that I mean, I don't know if it would work. And I don't think anybody cares about this movie, Jamie, sorry. But what about her as Janis Joplin? Shailene is supposed to do it, but like Mikey Madison as Janis Joplin would get more people in the theater, I think, than Shailene at this point.
Maybe, but she doesn't look anything like Janis Joplin. It would be tough. It would be none of her physical features are even close.
Hair and makeup. What the people really hung up on this?
Yes.
Fuck. How many movies have you seen where you know that they don't need to look like them at all?
The only one I ever saw like that was Nixon. That worked for me.
All right.
Comic Things. Jeff, can you see when The Rock is filming Disney Monster Trucks film? So we know if he is working WrestleMania. And I heard Lakeith is being eyed for T'Challa. No, he is not. Lakeith Stanfield is too old for where they want to go with T'Challa. And that's not the right energy for T'Challa. So
yeah, I was going to say, I don't see that energy, especially after that Haunted Mansion.
That doesn't pass the smell test, Bob. That doesn't pass the smell.
That didn't. Sorry, good try though. I don't know when he's filming Monster Trucks.
Okay. Wayne Edwards.
If I were him, I wouldn't be in a rush to film Monster Trucks.
Yeah. I'd rather be more in a rush for Mania. It's good to hear Marvel is finally ready to recast T'Challa. And as much as I love Chadwick Boseman, the Black Panther character has been around since the 1960s. That character has been a part of my life since I was a kid. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly why it makes sense, your report, brother. So I think a lot of people have come around on this now. And like you said,
Coogler. Trust in the Coogler.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Jim One says, any inside info on the James Bond situation is Amazon? Yeah, Jeff, are they going to wait out Amazon and then do a whole new deal with some other studio? Like, what is going on here, man? It feels that way.
No, they'll make a fucking movie eventually, but they'll do it on her timeline. And that's on Amazon. Buyer beware.
Yeah. Alan Smithy, hey guys, glad you're safe. Thank you, Smithy. Jeff's a good Samaritan for taking folks into his home. I agree. Hope you enjoyed your 7 IMAX experience. Could 7 ever have a sequel? Copycat Killer, perhaps? Also, Turk 182 is a firefighter movie. Yes, Robert Urich and Timothy Hutton. I remember watching that in the theaters.
Is it good?
It's a good movie for an 80s movie. It'll be dated when you watch it, but I liked it for what it was.
But you say, people say for an 80s movie, well, fucking, what was Backdraft? 91, 90, something like that? Like, for a 90s movie, that movie fucking holds up.
It does. It does.
Thank you, Alan, by the way. 7 was an incredible theatrical experience. Yeah. I feel bad for anyone who missed it. And could it have a sequel? I think it could, frankly.
You got to see where Brad Pitt is now. I was watching it again the other night because the 4K version is out, and that's the one they're streaming now on these services. It is beautiful, the 4K. And so in my mind, I was like, where is he now? Where is he now, man?
Dude, I mean, once you've had your wife's head chopped off and everything, I mean, maybe he just disappeared into seclusion, David Mills, but I still think Somerset is out there.
You think Somerset's still alive in the world of 7?
I mean, why not? I mean, Morgan Freeman's still alive. Why couldn't he be at a retirement home when a copycat killer strikes and then 2 new detectives have to have the scene where they go to the retirement home and, consult Morgan Freeman for what he thinks he can see and everything?
It's got to be Pitt. It's got to be Pitt.
Listen, you can easily, Pitt is the obvious answer. Like, does he lose his mind? Does he become a killer? Whatever.
No. I mean, the 2 cops go and get David Mills first and talk to him. And then
he's harder to get than Morgan Freeman is my point. And less likely to return, I think.
Okay. Well, I think you get it where you get David Mills, and then Mills is the one who goes to Somerset, and they have the conversation that they never had after the death of his wife.
That would be good.
And then you lead to the thing.
You can do it. There is a way to do it. There's a way for Andrew Kevin Walker to do it because he is smarter than both of us.
Yeah, fair point.
Really wrote one of the most perfect screenplays of all time.
That movie changed my life. Like,
we're almost done with the show, by the way. How many more do we have?
We have 10 more, man. 10 more. But we're only an hour and 45 minutes of the show. Don't forget.
Started late. Okay.
Steve McTee said Spider-Man 4 story is very dependent on Doomsday. The rumors feel very confusing. Will Doctor Strange 3 release before Secret Wars? Love the show, guys. Yeah, I don't know with Doctor Strange. I don't know when that's going to come out. Jeff? Do you think it'll come out before Secret Wars?
I don't know, but
it might have to, though.
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not even going to say an answer.
Everything's fluid.
Yeah.
Captain Penis, is it true that Steve Gutenberg has a huge hog? That he does. It's a good motorcycle. Julius Wyatt says, how about those SAG nominations? Some wild stuff. Yeah, what the fuck, man? I was so mad. As a member of SAG, I was supremely pissed to see Pamela Anderson nominated over like Nicole Kidman and all these other actresses.
Absolute insanity.
Nonsense.
Absolute insanity.
Or even what's his face from Wicked, Jonathan Bailey over Guy Pearce. Get on the fuck out of here, man. Come on.
Crazy stuff going on that nom-com. Have you been on the nom-com before?
The nomination committee? No, I don't like to be on those things, man. It's a lot of stress and pressure. I vote for the Critics' Choice now, thankfully, and HCA, but I never did the SAG situation, so I worked the show, though. RLC Comics says, Jeff John, what's the last book you read that you think would make a good movie? Oppenheimer. No, I'm just joking. Jeff, what's the last book?
I really think if I was an executive hired by one of these like horror companies, I mean, half the companies in Hollywood are horror companies now.
Yeah, true.
I'd really look at the books that Jack Ketchum did. I think there's so much good stuff in Jack Ketchum's library.
One author that no one ever talks about that I love from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s is Andrew Vaucus. His novels, where it's led by a guy named Burke, and he goes into the seedy underworld of New York solving sex crimes. And his Vaucus's wife was the actual attorney in charge of prosecuting sex crimes in New York. So there's a lot of like incisive, feet on the ground stuff that you might not know about that process that I thought was great in his book. So if you haven't read Andrew Vaucus, Vachss, you're missing out. Shella is the first book. Definitely pick it up. Buckteeth Bandit says, you guys hear any buzz about Sinners? I haven't heard anything. Okay. Here's what I heard from my source, that the initial test screenings weren't that great. That's all I've heard. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I heard. Jeff, what have you heard anything?
I'm sorry, you said that you heard the buzz wasn't great?
That the early test screenings weren't that strong.
I heard the same, that the buzz wasn't great at first, but I heard it got better.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard the second.
I heard it came out pretty decently.
There we go. All right. Now let's hit these.
That's reflected in the move, too.
Oh, yeah.
It moved back a month. It switched with Mickey. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. All right, Mike G says, this money is for the people who need it in LA. Question, do YouTube hosts really give a shit about their followers? This question is for John. Thanks. Oh, I do. But I don't give a shit about the people who are assholes, who are toxic, who are mean, who are condescending, who are pricks. And if you can't handle the energy you give out being thrown back to you, then get the fuck off my channel. That's really the truth. That's absolutely the truth. I don't need to beg you to be a part of my channel. I do ask you to subscribe if you like the content we're doing, but I also tell you to be respectful. So if you can't do both, you don't belong on the channel. There are plenty of other channels for you to go watch, for God's sakes.
Thank you to Boris Kidd at the Hollywood Reporter for confirming and crediting the Sneider on the AHSOKA scoop.
Good stuff. What Real Entertainment says, don't know how I feel about the Baylan casting. I feel like everything I've seen Rory in, he's the same. And I haven't seen anything that screams Baylan to me. I was all for Liev Schreiber. His look, depth, the voice to a certain degree, all there, but that's just me. I don't think Liev is... I don't know. What do you think? What do you think of this, Jeff?
I think there's a few things in play here.
Okay.
If you add Liev Schreiber, you add a character, an actor of that name, does it increase viewership for season 2?
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
No, you either watch season 1 and you're going to want to continue, or you watch it and you don't. You're not going to join watching season 2 because of Liev Schreiber.
Yeah.
But I don't think that you actually need a name.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think that this is a cheap option. I think this is a guy who was friends with Ray Stevenson to some extent in real life, and is going to handle that transition with great care and respect. And I also think that you want someone who can carry on the spirit of the character, make it their own a little, but also, and this is important and no slight to Rory here, because I didn't watch Game of Thrones.
Oh,
so
okay.
I don't know his work. I don't think you want to cast someone who outshines Ray Stevenson.
I was just going to say that I think they cast this in a way that he is not going to be a huge part of season 2, but he is going to be a good part of season 2, but he won't outshine anybody who are the main leads, and he won't outshine Ray Stevenson, but he will be in service of the role and continue the mythology in a strong way. Yeah,
that's exactly it. And as an actor, you would know that, in service of the role. You don't want to bring in Liev Schreiber and then everyone just thinks, oh, Baylan Skoll, that's Liev Schreiber, and people just forget about Ray Stevenson. I don't think that is the intention behind the recast. I don't think you needed a big name to come in. You need someone actually a little bit, just a step maybe beneath Ray Stevenson. So you're always going to remember that it was him originally.
But still delivering a good product for sure. Yeah. Anonymous Oscar fan says, where will Coralie Farge's next movie land? I assume somewhere bigger than Mubi.
Universal. Universal had this movie. It's a working title movie, I believe. So I think Universal paid for it.
Oh, there you go.
I just, I think that's the case. I'm not sure. They had some sort of rights thing. I also think that they probably saw it and were like, this is not a fucking wide release movie. We're not putting this out, via Universal Pictures. I forget how it all went down, but if she goes to the studio side, I could see Donna making a play for her.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Anonymous Oscar fan also says, do we think that James Gunn has hired a writer on Brave and the Bold because he wants to write? Do we think James Gunn hasn't hired a writer on Brave and the Bold because he wants to write it himself?
Possible.
Yeah, that's very possible. I didn't even think about that, but that's very possible. Samuel says, thoughts on...
I think Superman, I think he's going to end up doing a Superman sequel. Don't you think?
Probably. Yeah.
How do you not, if Superman's a hit, how do you not do Superman 2? That's the whole problem with Man of Steel, is that they fucking dicked around and put him in this movie and that movie and this movie. It's like, people just want Man of Steel 2.
That's what he should have done, but Warner Brothers over fucking reacted.
So I think Superman 2 is going to be a priority for him eventually. I mean, it has to be.
Yeah, agreed. Samuel says, thoughts on Sony making live action movies based on PlayStation video games on Horizon Zero Dawn and Helldivers series. You said that in your newsletter, Jeff. You reported on that. I didn't know you know that much about video games, but you...
I don't. I mean, that was an aggregated thing from
all
of its CES coverage. I didn't know any of these games. Horizon, Dawn. I mean, what the fuck is half this shit? I mean... I actually thought it was hilarious. It's like all these fucking video games. I know that they sell zillion copies and they make billions of dollars. what works? I'll tell you what works. Super Mario Brothers movie.
That worked.
Okay. Sonic the Hedgehog. And when were these video games created? When we were children.
Yeah, 80s and 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not about I need Horizon. I don't know what the fuck Horizon Dawn is. No one my age is going to see Horizon Dawn. Unless they're like a hardcore gamer.
That's true. Yeah. Samo says, did you hear that disgraced director Brett Ratner will direct a documentary on Melania Trump for Amazon? And are we sadly going to actors/directors are we sadly going to actors/directors get gigs back? I don't know what the last part meant there, but
I mean, eventually these guys have to work. I mean, what else are they going to go do? Is Brett Ratner going to bag groceries? I mean, he's a director. He found someone to let him make these movies. Again, it makes sense because he had those Mnuchin ties.
Yeah.
Right? So, Trump, I mean, the whole thing is fucking weird. But I'll tell you who's going to be coming back eventually. That's just in the air. I mean, if you're looking at Armie Hammer booking roles and Kevin Spacey booking roles, you know who's going to be coming back eventually.
Who's that?
I think it wouldn't shock me if 2025 was the year that you saw Bryan Singer rear his ugly head again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's just it's in the culture, right? The company, a lot of these guys coming back. I wouldn't shock me if Singer was one of them. I mean, he's obviously still very talented.
Yeah. Well, I just think Ratner is accused of sexual assault. He's been accused by numerous women. Natasha Henstridge, other people accused him of it. So it's no surprise that he would get a chance to direct a $40 million documentary on Melania. I'm so curious to see how they're going to curate that one. And the thing is, Amazon is paying for it. They're paying the $40 million. That's what's so insane about all of it. I don't see how that's not a conflict of interest, but whatever. It's a new world, I guess. Doug Developers says, hey, Jeff, good call on Pamela Anderson with a nipples chance for an Oscar nomination. Anyway, if she does get nominated, do you think she and Demi Moore will cancel each other out because they have the same comeback narrative? Thus, Mikey Madison takes it.
I mean, I think Best Actress is wide open. Is it about the performance or about the narrative? I don't think Demi Moore really deserves Best Actress. Like, it's great that she was in the movie. She was amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's really like an Oscar-winning thing. So, yeah, and Pam Anderson.
I think the danger was, and I rewatched it again the other day, I think the danger with Substance is that Margaret Qualley is, in kind of half the movie. So, I know Demi is given a lot to do in the movie for sure, but Margaret has a lot she does in that film as well. So it's interesting. It's interesting how that's all going to turn out. But I disagree with the premise, Doug. Pamela Anderson does not have the same narrative as Demi Moore. Pam Anderson was doing VIP and fucking Baywatch and Barbed Wire. Demi was doing A Few Good Men, G.I. Jane, Ghost. Like, that's a way, 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 way more talented actress than Pam Anderson. This nonsense narrative, I tweeted about this the other day, this nonsense narrative that Pam Anderson was some incredible actress that was just being held down by the media is fucking nonsense. She worked on stuff that she was talently qualified to work at. She was not kind of held back from doing these great roles.
Suddenly she doesn't wear makeup and all of a sudden she's Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
To piggyback on the Singer thing, the other guy who could make a comeback this year is Whedon.
Oh, Joss Whedon, really?
I just feel it's in the air, like the fact that these guys are coming back. If Armie Hammer and Kevin Spacey are booking acting gigs, what's to say Whedon and Singer can't book a directing gig?
Sure, but I mean they're booking Uwe Boll movies.
Sure. Okay, well then why can't Armie Hammer sign up for a Joss Whedon movie? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, definitely.
There will be enough where they can all work together.
Sure, then nobody will go see it, but yes, sure. Let's see. Mr. Torrance says, hi from England. You guys will pull through. Thank you, Torrance. And thank you for LA people. I'm not there anymore. I just wanted to say Matt Reeves's medium-sized leather-clad emo could never cut it in a world of kaiju, super people, lanterns, and Lobo. And don't forget the Creature Commandos. We need Alan Richson. Thoughts?
For what?
For Batman. You're saying that the Matt Reeves approach with the leather and the emo situation doesn't fit. It's basically the same question over and over and over again.
It's not how I pictured Batman growing up. I didn't picture Batman like a giant muscle-bound brute. I pictured him like Michael Keaton, who's just like a kind of average-looking guy who could fight crime, it was crazy enough to fight crime at night. Like, I don't need an Alan Richardson type, but I get why he'd be appealing.
Yeah. I agree. All right. Goodspeed says, love the show. How about Jeff does his own podcast? Oh, goddamn, he went both ways, this guy. All right, fair enough. Okay. The Outsider will be paying average Joe fan to compete against Jeff, ask questions, give their own opinions about movies, read it. Okay.
Is that Best Name Tapes comment? Or?
No, this is Goodspeed. Someone else sent it in.
Oh, no, that's my brother, too. It's the same fucking
guy. He could have just given you $6. Mark says, any ideas?
I'm going to keep that $6.
Yeah, graphic designing must not be going well. Mark says, any ideas on what will be the next for Glenn Powell after JJ's movie? Do you think his Backdraft remake will be picked up now? Do you want to do back-to-back remakes?
That's not a real thing.
You don't think it's a real thing, the Backdraft one?
No.
Okay. All right.
I don't think any of them. I mean, is there a director on that? There's nothing.
I don't know.
I mean, unless Glenn, produced it under his production company and teamed up with Imagine.
Yeah.
I don't think that's legit.
Okay. Let's see. We go through. Okay. Here, the four more here. John Rocha, all the Outlaw. Mel Gibson on Rogan was great. Hashtag Trump 2028. He can't run it.
Can't happen. Stop with that nonsense.
You cult me. All you cult members. Jesus Christ. Get his dick out of your mouth and think for yourselves.
I did hear Mel was good on Joe Rogan.
Yeah, Mel said that he's going to start shooting the sequel to The Passion of the Christ. It's going to be called The Resurrection of Christ, and it will be 2026. So right around the corner.
Most anticipated of the year.
Yeah, with Caviezel coming back. Mumra says, Lev Guttenberg Mahoney was a valet before he was a catcher.
More Jesus Christ.
Right. Police Academy canon. Chris Cabrera, hi guys, love the show. With WWE's partnership with Netflix, do you think more WWE wrestlers are making the jump to TV/movies? I think that was already happening anyway, right, Jeff? So
yeah, exactly. These they have a fan base. They're good in front of a camera.
Yeah, Chris, I think it was already happening anyway. I think what you're suggesting, though, I think it will be a smoother transition now because of the access they will have to Netflix, and there'll be more chances to do things for sure. So I think you're absolutely right going down that road with that thought. Michael says, no questions I can think of, just donating to my favorite podcasters. Jeff, I love the Sneider. There you go.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
I think that's everything. One more from Jeff, from Doug here. Doug, hey, Jeff, Jackson or Allen for MVP? Rocha is somehow all in for Allen because Rocha is obviously, just kidding, Rocha. Anyway, pick logically. Well, he did pick logically. I pick logically. Do you think Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen should be MVP?
Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson? Probably Josh Allen, just because he really hasn't had the supporting cast. I feel like his receivers have been all over the place. Even Amari Cooper hasn't been Amari Cooper, and he still gets the job done. And yeah.
Hey, Doug, what did I fucking tell you?
Racist.
I said the same thing to Doug. All right, that's everything. We got to get out of here. All right, thank you all so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate you madly. Jeff, let people know where they can subscribe to your newsletter.
theinsnyder.com for all races. And if you're in LA, stay safe. If you need a place to stay or work tomorrow, if your power is still down, just let me know.
Yeah, let him know. And bring an extra poster. He doesn't have enough on the walls. So bring extra posters.
If these were to burn, which would I grab first?
Oh my God, right? As for me, you can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, hit that bell button, leave your comments on everything we talked about. And don't forget, we are a podcast as well. We would love for the thousands of you who watch the show to head on over to the podcast and subscribe to the podcast as well, wherever you download podcasts. All right, thanks so much. Take care of yourselves, people, and especially everybody in LA. Please, we love you. Be safe. Take care of yourselves. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here of the Hot Mic. Peace. Until then.